just a game. We'll play the part, but it won't be the same. They have a habit overcharging, forcing the hand into a plea bargain. Offered up a plea deal, but I didn't do it for real. Turn the world against me, but I just wanna be free. I've got the facts, they've got the lies. Motion denied. They say they've got so much evidence. Trace DNA is taking precedence over unknown blood found at the scene. I think it's time someone just came clean. Offered up a plea deal, but I didn't do it for real. Turn the world against me, but I just wanna be free. I've got the facts, they've got the lies. Motion denied. Been sentenced to death. I'm not a bad guy, not holding my breath. Rather do life than die. Offered up a plea deal, but I didn't do it for real. Turn the world against me, but I just wanna be free. I've got the facts, they've got the lies. Motion the night. Motion the night. Motion the night. Motion the night. Close the night out right, panel at the table in that half-dead light. Miss Robin in the middle, calling every shot, directing and producing, till the story runs hot. 1-1 from the city, badge heavy on his chest, towing that law like a wicked chain, spitting facts, no rest. Crimes after dark, we close the night out right, tear through the lies till the wrong sounds like a fight. All of the answers buried so deep out of sight. We watch the threads unravel, we watch the threads ignite. JJ in the corner, state of the deep in his head. Which lies to toss and which ones to keep instead. Dago from the cafe says forget about it, leans back, spins his thoughts like a blade cutting the buzzing of the night. Crimes after dark, we close the night out right. Tear through the lies till the wrong sounds like a fight. All of the answers buried so deep out of sight. We watch the threads unravel. We watch the threads ignite. You can bury it in paper, you can lock it in a file, but the truth bleeds through, drip by drip, tile by tile. We're dragging it to daylight, name by name, line by line. If you wrote it in the shadows, we'll read it out this time. Yeah. Crimes after dark, we close the night out right. Tear through the lies till the wrong sounds like a fight. All of the answers buried so deep out of sight. We watch the threads unravel. We watch the threads ignite.
All right, everybody, welcome to a Crimes After Dark on a frickin' I don't even know what day of the week it is because I just got back from Vegas with my wife. By the way, the saying goes, I'm going to turn off this banner, by the way. The saying goes, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I say what happens in Vegas gets broadcast on YouTube, including my wife's tryst with the buff Chippendales dancer with like little pale rabbit bunny eyes. I'm going to put that shit on camera for you guys to see what the hell happened there. But I'm going to make you feel like you were in CrimeCon in Las Vegas with me tonight. So all of tonight's show is going to be about Las Vegas, the sights, the smells, the sounds. Okay, maybe not the smells, but certainly the sights and the sounds, and a lot of description about what happened, all the anticipation of Stephen Christie Gonzalez. They were the very last show of CrimeCon. They were the last show in the main ballroom. They closed out everything. We're going to talk about that, even though it kind of came late in the day. And I'm going to bring the panel on now. Right now, we only have Robin, and I'm going to bring my wife up so that she has a chance to defend herself, because I'm going to probably tell some horrible stories, and she's going to have a chance to defend herself. So we're going to bring her on screen and bring Robin on screen. Ladies, how are you guys doing today?
Hello.
Welcome
back, you guys.
Caught my wife chewing food. What the hell?
Yeah,
You're not ready for camera? So anyways, it's good to be back. Thank you so much, Robin, for holding down the fort while I was gone, and you guys did an amazing job. I tuned in. Rhonda tuned in from the road when we were coming back from Vegas. We caught last night's show a little bit, so it was great to know that when I can go away, I don't have to worry about the show not going on. So I appreciate that very much for you guys doing that, and for Dago as well. And I don't know if we're going to get Dago tonight. We certainly invited him, but it's not his normal night. I do believe we're going to get JJ, right, and we're going to get 1-1. So,
yeah.
Again,
well, hey, my pleasure, and thank you for trusting us guys to, hold your seat warm, and you and Rhonda and everything. So we appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Absolutely, it was great. Vegas didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. It was so much different. And by the way, this is a bone to pick with my wife on camera. So my wife was upset with me because I would try to get her ass out of bed and to the center early. And then we'd get there and nothing was happening. He's like, so you woke me up for what? And I'm like, well, I don't know what it's going to look like this year. Yeah, you do like your sleep. Oh, I know. And so, but I was going on last year, in Aurora, Colorado, things were much, much different. So I'm going to give you some sights and sounds, including, and by the way, you guys need to make sure you pin stuff for me, because I'm going to be mostly focusing on a lot of pictures, images, and tales from the show. And so pin things. If anybody has any questions, please interrupt me with questions. And thank you, by the way, for those who were, oh God, Ron just gave me trauma. Hold on. Let me put that full screen. I got to show this to you. So Rhonda would stop at every mother effing table that had stickers. There were stickers everywhere, and I couldn't get down a hall in time for my show because, oh wait, there's stickers. I'm like, fuck the stickers. We got to go to a meeting. Anyway, she would stop at every single store or at every single table as we walked through CrimeCon that had stickers, and they had them everywhere. It seemed like I couldn't get anywhere. The only other time she ditched me was for that Chippendales dancer. We'll get to that in a little bit here as well. So what I want to do is I want to share with you the sights and sounds from the show. I'm going to put a video on screen first from what I intended to do very, very early on was give everybody live details, both in the members only section and in Discord. And I didn't end up doing it as often as I wanted to. So I apologize for that, but I'm trying to make up for it a little bit by showing some of those, showing my assets right here. Give me a second to pull this up.
Showing your what?
Showing my assets right here. So hopefully this is going to be one of the first clips that I recorded from outside the hotel when the family, and by the way, I didn't tell you this. So we have family that live in the Vegas area. So Rhonda was making it a dual purpose, go down and see her sisters who live in the Vegas area. So one of them stayed in the Airbnb with us, and one of them just happened to have like a boyfriend in town that stayed there with her boyfriend and would come by and see us. So that when I talk about in this video about the family and not getting the family moving, that's like some context for that. So because we don't have kids, so we didn't have any kids in the thing. But all right, let me see if I can put this on screen. Hopefully it has audio.
Good morning from CrimeCon.
Well, okay, stop. What's going on?
Outside of my Airbnb. I'd like to be at CrimeCon, but I didn't communicate very well last night. So while the first session starts at 12, apparently everybody thought that means we need to show up there at 12. So I'm ready to go to CrimeCon, and Nancy Grace showed up last night. This is when a lot of people mingle and you meet people like Vinnie Politan and Brian Enton, but we're not there because everybody thought, hey, the first session starts at 12, so why aren't we showing up at 12? No, I wanted to be there a long time ago. So I'm waiting, pensively waiting for the group to get going so that we can get to CrimeCon and hopefully mingle a little bit. Custody Queens Off the Clock told me last night they were going to be there, so they're probably there right now to get in their badges. I was hoping to meet them in line, but I did not communicate well with everybody. So everybody's getting ready and thinking that we just need to be there by 12 because that's when their first session starts, and we'll see how it goes. Not the best way to start, but we will get there. Take it easy.
All right. Good so that was me railing against the fact that I wanted to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. Again, my wife hears the first session's at 12, so we'll be there at 11:59, and that'll be good enough. So this is an ongoing thing. By the way, the birds that you may have heard on that in the background was a constant source of battle between my wife and I. Every single day she'd wake up in the morning, and it's mostly because my wife doesn't know what morning sounds like. So in the morning there's lots of birds, and she's like, "What the hell with that? Is that like some kind of recording?" I'm like, "No, that's what it sounds like when birds wake up in the morning and you're actually in the morning." But she's not used to that, so she kept telling me all the time that she's certain it's a recording, it's not real. And so we argued all the time. She's like, "It's repetitive. You can hear the same bird." I'm like, "No, it's not repetitive. That's what animals sound like in the morning." Anyways, that was part of my...
Did you ever record it so you can play it for people?
I did not record it. I'm certain it was real birds. It's real birds. And by the way, we stayed right beside, and I don't know if it's his only gym, but Floyd Money Mayweather, the fighter who lives in Vegas. He had a gym right beside where we were at, and Rhonda and I basically saw one of Mayweather's fights against the UFC fighter I used to love a lot, of Conor McGregor. That was just a money show. But that's what Floyd Mayweather is known for, is making big bank. So anyways, that's an aside. All right. I'm just looking to make sure we don't have any questions or comments as we go on. So I wanted to share, let me see if I can share pictures. Let's see how best to do this. Let's go share my screen. And I want Rhonda to, when we get to it, to go ahead and correct my details, because she does not agree with the way that I see things in my life. So I'm sure she will disagree with me. That's not how it was at all. Let me see here. Remove that.
You're asking me to correct you?
I'm asking you.
Can you say that again, please, into the microphone?
Fuck no. All right. Anyway, so that's, which I'm trying to figure out what the best view of this, because I really can't blow it up too much. This is CrimeCon. This is what it looks like. Woo, look at that. All right, so they've got this like awning thing you can come through. We posed for a shot late. By the way, this dress almost came off of Rhonda multiple times. I told you what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas. It's a skirt, right? The skirt almost came off several times because we would have to go up and down escalators to get to this. This is actually on the second floor from the main floor, and she would always have to pull it up, hike it up in order to not have it get caught in the escalator. It was going to rip her skirt completely off. I was waiting for that moment. She almost had it happen several times, but anyways. Down. So if you look over here where the pink curtains are, that's a bunch of escalators there leading down to the main floor. So we're on the, and this, I would kind of say this actually is the main floor, but you have to come from the lower floor. This is where the main ballroom is down this hall, not the hall behind us, but the direction that you're looking at. Anyways, you can see that we've got our gold VIP badges on. A lot of people had standard badges on. We paid extra for gold VIP, and I don't think we're going to do that again. The perks were just not enough. The only perk I really think that I liked the most was the VIP lounge, which is a place I can go sit at it, and put my laptop out. But you're going session to session to session, and there's no break. So when do you ever have time to sit in the
nice
VIP?
too.
Skip what?
Sitting in front was nice.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, so the VIP section, both gold and platinum, have like the first few rows. I'll show that in a minute as well, so you can see where we sat. So that was a big benefit. However, the custody queens, for example, they came late and they only got standard badges, and so they couldn't sit with us in the VIP section. So that then you have that stuff like, do I skip all the money I paid for the VIP ticket so I can sit in the front few rows to go sit with my friends in the nosebleed seats, or do I stick with the money? Anyways, we paid good money for those seats. All right, so let's go through another picture or two. Let's see if I just tab through these. That's not going to work. All right, hold on a second. Remove that. I didn't remove that. Why did it remove? Why is that not removing? All right, let's put this up on screen. So this is the floor plan of CrimeCon. By the way, this is where we screwed up. We screwed up bad. The main floor had a merch store, which Rhonda, of course, found because she's a shopping fanatic. So she found the crime store and broke my company with merchandise, I'm pretty sure. But right next to it, which I missed, was the Expo Hall and Creator Row. I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. I didn't know it was right touching the merch store, but that's where Steve and Christy Gonzalez did an impromptu interview, which it was funny. I was literally at CrimeCon hearing what's happening at CrimeCon. And I'm like, I'm right here. Where the fuck is this happening? Why am I still old news when I'm literally at CrimeCon being told that I'm so far behind because at CrimeCon, Steve and Christy just did a recording. I didn't see shit at CrimeCon. Last year, I saw everyone. I saw one celebrity in the wild, I think, the entire time, which was, I'm going to leave that because when I'm going to show him, I saw him from the back. I'm going to see if you recognize him from the back. So anyways, let me mute this thing real quick. Before I do that, do you guys have any questions? Robin, you're so quiet. I feel like I'm just walking all over.
I'm just fascinated listening. No, okay. I'm getting a kick out of you and Rhonda. Okay. The back and forth. And well, I'm glad to hear your skirt did not get ripped off by the escalator.
Very gauzy. I don't know what material it is, but
oh, and by the way, let me pick on my wife a little bit more. By the way, you'll notice on this legend there's restrooms. Like here, there's a couple, and on the main floor, there's a couple. Rhonda hit every single one of these. I'm pretty sure every single one of these Rhonda has seen and knows the decor of every bathroom in that place. That's I had to.
Hey, now listen. You don't understand, Lee. Yeah. Listen. Because bathrooms for females are a different world than they are for men. Just because. So when we find a very nice bathroom, I can just imagine what the bathrooms, maybe some of them look like there at an event.
They're like nice. They're nice bathrooms. Yeah.
Yes. See, that is a very important thing to a female. So I totally understand her excitement and why she would be curious to check those out. So.
to check out every bathroom. Yeah. I'm sure she was just, Oh, by the way, when we walked past, we were in the Caesars Palace, right? And there was a giant stone statue. I made a joke one day about, I shot the backside of him with his rock hard ass and said, hey, look, they memorialized me here. But Rhonda laughed because there was two girls in the front taking a picture of the pee-pee. Look, they're taking a picture of a little pee-pee. me, what is it with the Romans? They all of their, I know what it is. I actually know the story about why the Roman statues always had small penises. It actually shows their intellect and their superiority towards God. If you're more holy, then you don't need that kind of stuff. So anyways, that's a whole other story because I have a religion background as well. But anyway, so this is the main floor. The big ballroom is where a lot of the biggest features where we saw. I think most of the things we saw were in Breakout 1 or the main ballroom. Breakout 1 was upstairs on the 3rd floor. I'll show you a little bit more about that. We spent a lot of time in Breakout 1 and the rest of our time in the main ballroom primarily. And then there was the gold and the VIP lounge over here where we sat, if you see my mouse moving on the screen. So that's the general, it's 3 floors. We were up and down on the floors all the time. And I kept looking for Stephen Christie. I kept waiting to get punched in the mouth by the Gonzalez's. That never happened. So anyways, let me get another picture up for you. Any questions, by the way, so far if I'm going too slow, I got so much to share. Let me know.
No, I don't think you're going too slow. I think you're fine.
So people wanted me to take a picture. This is a well-known feature at CrimeCon. It's the memorial wall. This is all the missing people. So there's just a lot of, and this is, of course, this is a scratch in the bucket or a drop in the bucket, a scratch in the whatever. This is very not hard. Whatever the fuck it is, I'm going to mix them all together. There's a lot more missing people than this, but this is probably the Vegas area. I didn't pay attention to see if these were just Vegas.
No,
people.
they're all over the place.
They're all over the place. Okay. Mm-hmm. So people leave notes and they come up and they take pictures. It's a famous thing to get your picture taken in front of the memorial wall. So I thought I'd share that with you as well. Let's see.
I also combine my metaphors, so don't feel badly.
I do it all the time. In the merch store.
My
go ahead.
Most famous one is instead of a fly on a wall or, I'd like to be a mouse in the room or whatever. It's a mouse on the wall. So.
I'm a mouse on the wall. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot. Sorry, what a piece of cheese. My toddler child tossed my keys into the escalator in a store in Germany and stopped the escalator, broke the key. It was great fun. That's awesome. That is awesome. Only slightly better than having somebody's skirt ripped off as they go up the escalator, but that is awesome. All right, so at the merch store, look whose book's on sale. We had Christopher Wickham's Broken Plea. I don't know that he sold any books. CrimeCon is very, very heavy pro-prosecution and pro-victims. And by that, I want to be careful because when I say pro-victims, I'm not anti-victims. Like I don't believe in shitting on victims, and I don't believe that's what I do, even though oftentimes people say what we do is we victim shame and we don't leave the families alone and we're pieces of shit. We just want to get to the truth. And sometimes we ask better questions than the families who just want to get resolution and they want to move on. And we get that they want to get resolution and move on, but we don't consider it, we would like the families to grieve on their own, and then we will ask the questions that they wouldn't ask. And hopefully, if we find that something was wrong and an injustice was done, they'll be able to handle that when it comes. But we're in no part are we about shaming the victims. But CrimeCon is traditionally a very pro-prosecution, very pro-victim support, and anybody that says anything against the official narrative isn't really well received. I think I was surprised at the first CrimeCon in Aurora that there was one session that was actually on a wrongful conviction, and I loved it. I'm like, why can't we not have more of these where you admit that every once in a while you get it wrong and they highlight those, but instead the show is about how to catch the bad guy. Yeah. Would you have
more of that?
Yeah. All right. Give me a second. Another just picture that I wanted to share from CrimeCon. This is the escalators are over to the left on the other side of this wall, and this is the walkway everybody goes through. I want to see if there was something I highlighted special about this picture, but I don't think there was. So we'll just kind of skip that one. I guess I'll go ahead. Instead of keep pulling these off, I'll just kind of leave it up on screen and make it a little bit faster. Oh, here's a video. Yeah, so here's a video of the actual, can you hear the sound or no? Probably not. All right, to hear the sound, I'm going to need to share my screen with sound. So hold on. Stop screen share, share screen, entire screen with sound, add sound. All right, here we go. So this, again, this is just kind of the look and feel of early CrimeCon. And if you look back there, that's the escalators up to the 3rd floor. So that walkway there is taking you down to, I don't know if you can see very well on this little tiny screen, but that hallway leads down to the main ballroom, and then the escalators go up to breakout 1 and the VIP lounge and all that stuff like that. And so anyways, just some sights and sounds from the CrimeCon. This is a picture from the VIP gold and platinum pickup location. So when we first got there was a huge line, and I was ready to impress my wife as I said, "Oh no, we don't stand in this line. We go past everybody over to that area that says VIP pickup." And she's like, "Oh my God, this is so cool. I'm already excited." And then we got in that fucking line. So she's like, "So we're still standing in a line?" I'm like, "Yes, unfortunately, we're still standing, but we're standing in a different line. We're standing in a different line."
And it's a shorter line.
It was a shorter line. Yes, it was a shorter line. So there was that. This was, they did have the line split up into 2, the diamond VIP package on one side, gold VIP. So even when you pay extra money, you still feel like a schmuck that the better people are on the other side of the line than you are. So they make sure all the time that you're always aware that you aren't quite upper crust. Everywhere you go, you get reminded that the person next to you is a slightly better person than you are. So that was awesome. Let's see, what else we got? These are the merch bags. These are the merch bags that we got. Hey, look, we got one finally. Excellent. Welcome. How are you doing?
Oh,
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. So these are the merch bags from CrimeCon. They're pretty large. We didn't want to pack them around everywhere. It's hard to get a scale because we don't have them. Well, I guess you can kind of see a cell phone if you look. There's a
people carrying them around. You can.
Oh, that's true. In a lot of pictures, but there's a cell phone for comparison of size. On the side of it is Othram Labs logo. Othram Labs, as expected, was featured in several presentations. We kept hearing about our friends at Othram. Othram put their logo on everything. So that's pretty much par for the course as well. But the swag bags just have little stickers and shit like that. And as you know, Rhonda loves stickers. So that was plenty of that thing. There's me with my gold VIP badge, even though it's already outdated because other people are more important. All right, let me pull up some videos for you. Now, Fremont Street. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Fremont Street. Fremont Street is my favorite place of Vegas. It's an absolute freak show on Fremont Street. If you haven't been, you need to go. Fremont Street, I think, has been tamed down a little bit, but it's still pretty fucking, and it's not family friendly. They tell people don't take your families. In fact, when you see children walking around at Fremont Street, people look at them like, what the fuck are you doing bringing your kid down there? You don't bring children to Fremont Street. It's just not that kind of environment. But anyway, so I'm going to show you some sights and sounds from Fremont Street. I will warn you, 1 or 2 of the images are going to test the limits of our YouTube showing. It's legal. It's legal in Vegas. I think it's still legal in other parts of the country. Not entirely sure.
I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out when we get to clip 10. We're going to play clip 6 right now. So let me see if this works. Oops. Gosh, darn it, man. I don't know what it is with me not having this stuff automatically play. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Well, this is kind of Fremont Street sounds. Very, very small clip, but they got this giant canopy over here that constantly changes colors. They play music throughout the night, and you can check their schedule and see what music is playing. Plus, they have live bands all through there, and there's buskers everywhere, and that's where things get a little sketchy. You've got buskers that set up and pay for spots for 2-hour blocks.
Actually, they're free.
Oh, they're free. That's right. It's a lottery system. They compete for a lottery system. But and what'll happen is, and this happened while we were there. When I get to the sketchy, I'm not sure this is entirely legal part. A particular woman got moved her spot, and then I saw a bunch of police with her, and I thought, oh shit, maybe it's not legal. It is legal. She was actually in a dispute over who owned the spot for the next 2 hours because she had moved down to a different spot and apparently didn't have that, or there was I think she lost that spot, not because of what she did, but well, anyways, we'll get to that in a second. So that's some sights and sounds of that. Let's see here. And remove that. And video, let's go 7. Let's hope that this
4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, from America's Got Talent. Yes, it's those guys. Here we go. Everybody ready? Let's start the show.
Now we got a couple of clips before I tell you their story. These guys have a story. So let me play another clip of theirs. Oops, not that. That's not the way to do it. And that's not the way to do it. Give me a second. I'm not a technological wizard, apparently. Let me give you a couple more videos of those guys, and then we'll show you, tell you their story a little bit. All right.
It's the guy from America's Got Talent.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world.
All right, and one more clip of those guys. Let's see here. And this would accentuate the point that I wanted to make about these guys, this next video.
If we can start the show right now. Yep, she's listening.
So this dude kept insisting everybody gather around their spot and get closer, and people weren't doing it. And so he started like insulting the crowd. Well, she's listening. Why can't you listen? Get up here. Stand right here. You need to stand right here, sir. Why aren't you listening? And I'm like, and the more they did it, the more I was like, fuck these guys. Like, we're moving on. Like, I don't need to be told what to do. And they're like, you know, and it was like the weirdest thing. But anyways, I think what they want to do is they want to create this sense, the appearance of hype. So if there's nobody watching them, then they don't look like the place to be. But if they get up a whole bunch of people circling around, then everybody will be like, "What's going on over there?" So it was just a hype generation thing.
Much.
What's that?
I said they dicked around so much trying to get us in a circle. We walked away.
Right. They spent forever trying to get people to get around in a circle that I'm not sure they even went on with their show because Rhoda's like, I'm done. I'm not gonna watch that.
Then they called us.
Right, so,
are you afraid of black people? You're weird.
Yeah, they're right. That's it. Yeah, they said people are afraid of black people. They used another word, but we won't say that on the air. Anyways, now I'm going to play this next clip. This is not entirely a family-friendly show, so please lock your children away. Put them back on the dog collar, whatever you need to do to get them to not watch this next segment.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I mean, whatever you need to do, like, you know, put them on the chain in the backyard, let them run up and down like they said in the something about Mary. Here we go. This is a nun. It's a very religious place.
Welcome to it,
I mean, I'm not entirely sure, but I probably would go back to religion if she gave a lesson, but I'm not sure. Although she looked bored. She looked bored most of the time, so that kind of ruined the mood for me. But anyways, okay, what else? What else do we have? Oh yeah, now let's watch. Now this is a short
popcorn. Check him out. It's like popcorn.
I'm just gonna sit. Wait, hold on. Let me just zoom in a little bit on this. So this is the moment that I lost my wife. Now I have to say, yeah, let's just hold it right here for a second while I tell this story. Let me set this story up. Okay, wait a minute.
Starting with the beads. Don't forget the beads.
Oh yeah. So Chippendales are famous for having spots on the Fremont thing. And you know, so they have the guys that are in black pants and they're shirtless. Sometimes they have the bow tie on, kind of thing. They're always muscular. This dude was, you know, freaking movie star good looks. His eyes were freaking some kind of weird bunny fucking pale shit, and it was working for him. The women are like, "Oh my God, I love your eyes." And so I'm walking with the girls. I'm walking
was he
with
a
my
vampire?
Wife. Yeah, I think he was a vampire. So I'm walking with the girls. I'm walking with my sisters, and my wife. And he comes up. This is how quick you lose your wife in Vegas. He comes up. And he simply puts his arm out with an elbow bent, inviting her to take his arm. And that was it. Fucking, she took her arm and they were gone. I'm like, what the? I mean, it like, you don't even fucking know the guy's name. He's just like, "Hey, ma'am." And she's like, "Yes, where am I going?" And that was it. Lost my wife in fucking Vegas. Lost the next sister who did the same thing. He took the other arm. And then he told the other girl with the other sister, "By the way, I have a third arm if you want to hold on to that one." So I was like, motherfucker. So that is Vegas. I got a little clip of Rhonda. I didn't get it until she was gone. My wife was already gone in a tent with a guy that I don't know. I had to like stand from a distance and just watch, kind of like bad movies or something like that. So yeah, so that's what happened to me. And here she is in the tent. I'll see if I can put that up here real quick. Oops, that's not the right one. See, what is with that? Hold on. There we go. All right, here we go. Let's play it again. So she was back in the back. There she is with the shirtless dude that took her by the arm. She comes out fucking, I saw you, Rhonda. I saw you. She comes out and she thinks I'm not looking, and she says to her sister, "Whoo!" And I'm like, "What the fuck? What do you mean, whoo? Like, what do you mean, whoo? Like, I look like that, right?" But anyways,
you didn't grab a hold of his arm.
Yeah, apparently. I don't think I would say woo. I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" Yeah. So
the normal arm. Sorry.
Yeah, not the third arm, but the normal arm. All right, let's remove some things from stage so I can bring some more videos up. Are there any questions, or we've been kicked out of YouTube yet? I feel like we're okay still.
Nope, we're good. We're good. Everybody's just laughing and
all right, let's put 12. What I didn't get a video of, by the way, if you're not familiar with Fremont, they have zip lines that go all the way down that giant tunnel over the street, and people will zip line across your heads. So you'll see like 4 people at a time racing down a zip line above you that are flying like Superman across you, and that happens all the time. And I just always had my camera in the wrong place, so I didn't get into the zip line. All right, again with the videos that don't play right away, I have to pull the other one off the stage. All right, let's see. I guess that's just a sights and sound kind of thing. Right. So that was just kind of a sights and sound one. Let me get another one for you.
I was waiting to cross the street.
Waiting to cross the street, yeah. I loved this dude. This dude had to be my favorite at the whole fucking, well, maybe the nun was. I don't know. But this one's pretty good. Those dudes are awesome. Those are, and then it's even better. And I got a clip of it. It was too short. Where like chicks will come up and twerk with them. They'll like bend over in front of them. And the big apes all like behind. It's Vegas, baby. Oh yeah. Speaking of baby, there's a baby right there. I guess a baby's okay because they're not going to remember what the hell just happened in Vegas. But
there's too many toddlers and little kids down there. Way too many.
Yeah. Way too many for my taste. All right, let's get another video up here. Let's see.
So in the top of that clip, you could see the zip liners.
Yeah. Oh, were they going across?
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Do I need to put it back on stage to show it? Were they actually going across while the guy was going?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's. Oh yeah. There we go. Sorry for the loud noise, but yeah, there's like 4 zipliners that went by. I don't know if you saw it on the tiny screen, but yeah, that's
we see it.
All right.
Heart of Gold says she loves Fremont Street.
Fremont Street is the shit. Little quick clip of live bands. I love the live band stuff as well.
Go around in that Texas town, outside.
So it's very cool. They have 3 stages usually where there's bands going all night long. A DJ was on center stage, and then they have live bands. That's another part of that I like. You can just, if you're a drinker, you go down there, you just get completely hammered. You pick which stage has the best music, and then you people watch, and it's the shit. It is so awesome. My boyfriend wanted to stop in Vegas. Nope, keep trucking. I mean,
you'd have a blast.
It's Vegas, baby. All right, hold on. Let's go here. So, all right, let me see if I can pull. How do I do this? Okay, I'm gonna go remove this from stage. So this picture that I'm gonna show, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure what I was looking at on this one. I think there's something behind. I think she's blocking something. I took this picture.
Yeah, right.
I think I was trying to take a picture of something. Wait, hold on. I mean, something. I don't know. I missed it apparently.
You are such a liar. You are such a bad liar. He was scared to take pictures of the front. She was like, "Was that the one with the heart pasties?"
Here's the thing. I know from experience, Rhonda. I know from experience. If you zoom in too much with your camera on the hot chicks, they come up to you and start trying to sell you photos. Hey, come get a photo. Hey, baby. And I'm like, I don't want to be mauled. I just want to take a picture of what's behind you. Anyway, so I guess that's all. I also like. I'm never gonna live this shit down. I like the t-shirts, like this one.
Oh my God.
I mean, Vegas has some of the best t-shirts.
Oh my God.
Right,
you know who would enjoy that probably is Jody from the Defense.
Oh, absolutely. That's a Jody shirt if I ever saw one. Yeah. All right, let's get to CrimeCon. So this is what, by the way, Merle in the front seat. I was pretty sure that Merle was going to go home with my wife as well. She met this guy who was from, where was he, Minnesota or something like that? Vermont. See, Rhonda remembers. She's like, we got to go hang out with Merle. Of course we do. Merle was very charismatic. We sat with him in the front rows. This is the breakout session number 1, the very first session that we attended. And so just a picture there from that. We did talk a lot to Merle. We saw him at several different, at least twice we saw him at different things and chatted him up. This next video will be from that same room. I'm going to pull up a video of that same room and you'll see Ron in the same place. I think Merle won't be there though. I'm not sure. Let's see here. So there's kind of a panorama of breakout 1 getting ready to start. That's like the very, very first session of CrimeCon for us. So we didn't go to the main ballroom for the main session. We went to breakout
Chris Hansen and Epstein survivors, wasn't it?
No, this was the Bianca. Wasn't it? Or no, maybe this was. No, this was the Chris Hansen one. Yeah, this was.
No, this was the dentist.
The dentist, the Ohio dentist.
Yes, that's right.
Heart of Gold wants to hang out with Rhonda. Yeah, that would be entertaining. Yeah. Here's a little clip from, so I didn't get much of it because they really don't want you recording the sessions. There's kind of rules against recording the sessions. The way CrimeCon works, by the way, is every single, there's stages everywhere, right? There's breakout 1, breakout 2, main ballroom. There's other ballrooms as well. And at the beginning of CrimeCon, every single room is playing the same exact sizzle reel to start I only got a little tiny piece of the sizzle reel, but it's kind of a hype thing of all the stories that you're going to hear. You know, faces in the news, people will clap for their favorite story or whatever. And so I just have a very, very brief show of that sizzle reel that was playing because I didn't want them to come kick me out for streaming because you're not supposed to record, especially the
21-year-old Rebecca Dowski.
New leads in the case of Brittany Shank.
The report was never filed for Brittany.
So very, very short, but it's just that they just go through case after case after case showing clips. Last year at Aurora, there was several Idaho 4 clips. There was Luigi Mangione. People actually cheered for Luigi Mangione, which was weird. I'm sure they weren't expecting that. So that was interesting. Let's see. What else do we have? We have some more images to share, and then we can get into stories of CrimeCon as far as the stories that we heard and the highlights. I'm sure you're wanting to hear about Stephen Christie Gonzalez and how that went. Unfortunately, like I said, they were the last person on stage, so I might save it to later. But by the way, feel free, keep throwing any questions that you have about it because this is a great opportunity. It's pretty open season. I'll stop the stories whenever you want. All right, let's get on screen. Let's remove this. Let's remove that and add that. All right. So this was who was that woman again from they interviewed her. I have it in my notes somewhere. Do you guys recognize who she is? She's a podcaster, TV personality that interviewed. And is it Bianca or Blanca that was the maid of Alec Murdaugh?
I have to, maybe if I
hold on.
I said it was Bianca. You said it was Blanca. I remember we had a disagreement about what her name was.
I'm looking at my notes. Hold on.
I will tell you who that person is because I've got it in my notes as well. I think it's Ann Emerson from Criminally Obsessed. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Yeah. My critique of her was that she seemed to be very, very focused on making faces for the audience to punctuate how she felt about things. She was more focused on putting on a performance, I felt, than actually interviewing. And she kept staring at her watch all the time. And I do understand it. They only have an hour each person, so they got to keep things moving. And Bianca/Blanca, I'm still not sure. Who is Blanca? You think it's Blanca? I thought it was Bianca. Does anybody else have a vote on which one it is? Is it Bianca or Blanca, the maid, the housemaid?
It's Blanca.
It is Blanca.
Blanca.
Fucking Rhonda wins. Damn it.
Yay.
She almost always wins. Anyways, Kathleen Bell said that shirt was awful. You didn't like the sandwich shirt? Oh, all right. Well, I thought it was pretty funny. All right. What are they? All right. So anyways, that was her story, I'll tell you a little bit about her story in a minute. I'm going to give you a few more sights and sounds of Vegas, and then I'll get into the actual details of cases and stories, including her story. Let's put this on screen. Okay, so this is the one and only celebrity in the wild I saw this year. Do you know who that is that's taking pictures with people? Anybody? Class? Bueller?
I can't tell from behind.
Is that Brian Enton?
It is Brian Enton. Ding, ding, ding,
Oh
ding,
yes,
Brian
I
Enton.
love that. I love that guy so much.
Yeah,
Yep.
Brian Enton is right there taking selfies. A lot of people were lining up to take pictures with Brian Enton. That was the only in the wild moment I saw. There you go. You have it. There's your celebrity in the wild. They were around. I don't know why I was missing them. Then on stage, I wanted to share this for a moment. By the way, this guy, who is that guy? Do you guys know who this guy is?
What session is this, Lee?
This was the Nancy Guthrie case. And he's from Fox, so I'm not sure which guy he is.
Yeah.
But
I don't know him.
I want to say this guy annoyed the living bejesus out of me. When I get to the story, that guy annoyed the hell out of me. This guy is I met him in line for Brian Koberger's plea change in Boise, Idaho. He told me that he was with Fox, and so he's with the Fox team on screen here. He's the guy I told you that in line, somebody from AP News had shown up and said, hey, I don't know much about this Koberger thing. What happened? And he said, well, let me tell you what happened. Brian Koberger was obsessed with one of these girls, Maddie Mogan, and killed all 4 of them because he wanted her so bad. And I'm like, how the fuck did you get that? Like, you're literally repeating to a news reporter who doesn't know the story that the story is Brian Koberger was obsessed with Maddie and killed a bunch of girls. And he's like, and he's shaking his head. Oh, that's disgusting. He's like, yeah, that's what happened. What we're here for. I'm like, that's not what happened, but fucking okay. So he was super nice. We chatted in line, and I got to know him, but I didn't spend time correcting his telling AP News that Brian Koberger was obsessed with Maddie and killed everybody in the house because he wanted to rape her or something, which is his story. But anyways, it is what it is. That's how much mainstream media pays attention. They literally will tell each other the story, which is nothing like the fucking actual story. And that's what you have to live with. That's what they'll report to you. So AP News reported on the story of Brian Koberger's plea based on this guy telling him that what happened was Brian Koberger was obsessed with Maddie and wanted to rape her and killed 4 people. So anyways, that's what the world we live in. All right.
I don't know how you kept silent, because I'm not sure that I could have.
By the way,
I'd been like, you're wrong.
I know Rhonda was like, I hope I don't run into Christy because I don't know if I can keep my mouth shut. I'm like, don't you fucking do anything. Like, I'm not going to get kicked out of CrimeCon. If, by the way,
you would have had to probably muzzle me before
if you want this code, get this code now. You can get a 50% discount on all your first year of signing up for America's true crime destination. Fox Nation has a premium subscription plan. So I thought I'd share with you the coupon code if you want it, if you want to join Fox kind of thing. They may or may not appreciate me handing out their code from CrimeCon, but you know what? We have a small audience, so fuck it. There was 7,000, I think, at CrimeCon, by the way. So it was a pretty good audience, but all right, so there's that. What else we got? Just a few more pictures and then we'll get into stories. My wife at the merch store did find me this really cool find. They had a tarot card theme and they had different tarot cards. This was a sticker, but she found it, The Advocate. And she's like, I got this for you. And I'm like, that's actually pretty fucking badass. So I thought that was cool. Thank you very much, honey. That was amazing. All right, a couple more videos, I think, from the stage, and then we will get into the stories if you guys are still with me. All right, so
we're with you.
24. All right, let's see if I can remove that for a minute and remove that for a minute. And so this is the main ballroom. One clip, and I'll play one more clip of the main ballroom for you to see. You can kind of see it's a really big room. It's the biggest room they've got, of course, there. And this was this video was shot right before Steve and Christy Gonzalez took the stage. This was on the last day of CrimeCon.
What was the reaction?
I'll tell you in just a second. Yeah.
Okay.
The reaction to Steve and Christy?
Yeah.
From the audience?
Yeah.
I would say that quiet.
Okay.
You know, there wasn't cheering. There was quiet. They let them talk. Very respectful. Hardly anybody said anything. Christy spent a lot of time crying on stage. The audience at times would clap and support the family for what they're going through, kind of thing, when they would make an emotional point. They had a loudmouth on screen who is, I hate saying that. I don't like to shame people, but one of the founders of their Kaylee Gonzalez Foundation, the Murder Has a Name, they were all wearing Murder Has a Name shirts, the Gonzalez family and the two people that helped found the foundation. They several times the guy got really mouthy, like he's going to stop all injustice in the world right now. It stops right fucking now. It stops right now. I'm going to take care. We're not going to have this happen anymore. It stops right now. And everybody like, because he was like, he was just blowing hard with a lot of like, there's never an excuse for somebody to see autopsy photos. We're going to put an end to that shit right now. Our foundation's going to, go wage war on this. There's no reason for people to see photos, blah, blah, blah. And, and he was very, very puffed up on all the things that he's going to do right now. By the way, as an aside, we'll start there. Let's just start with the Christy Gonzalez thing, because a lot of people, Christy and Steve Gonzalez, there was a moment, and Rhonda caught it as well, where the woman that was upstage with them for the foundation said, we encourage you to donate to the foundation. We love money. And I thought, how fucking inappropriate to make this a money thing. She said, we love money. And I'm like, of course you do. And that's the problem we have. You're pitching yourself as warriors for the truth while bragging that please give us money because we like money. Yeah, a lot of people like money. And that's the whole problem. Are people's judgment being clouded because they love money? And I later said to Rhonda, I was like, I can't believe that lady said we love money. She's like, oh yeah, I wrote that down too. Like, she's just like all proud of it. We love money. I'm like, yeah, you do.
Right. Like, right. It's obvious that you need money for the, donations for the foundation and all that. But I would say that's in a bit of a poor taste.
It felt like it. It felt like it. Steve made it clear, and this is one of the things that I thought was interesting. Steve made it clear that he would have entertained the idea of coming to CrimeCon sooner, but he thought, and this is how he didn't say it exactly like this. So I'm going to get I didn't write it down exactly word for word, but I'm going to do my best job paraphrasing. He said, I originally thought CrimeCon was kind of more of a neutral place where both sides would present their opinions, and I didn't want any part of that. But when it was explained to me what this was, then I'm all on board and I'll promote it. And what he was basically saying is, because this is a pro law enforcement, pro prosecution, pro mainstream media, he's all for it. But if it was going to be a difference of opinion, he wasn't interested in it. And I thought that was kind of telling in his thing. Like, I don't want to come here if both sides are going to present their side. But when I was told that this was all going to be pro law enforcement, pro victims and all this with that, then I was in and I'll promote it. And I'm like, well, there you go. Like, it would be nice if CrimeCon would branch out, especially since even the guy that was on the stage, I think his name was Andy Cohen. I think what he said, huh?
Kahan. Kahan.
Kahan. Okay, good. Thanks. I think he said himself, true crime is exploding. It is a huge genre, and it's not going to go away. So we're going to do our best to pass laws to curb what they can do and what they can say. So they admitted true crime is exploding. And here's the thing. I want to share this with you, my thought. I asked AI, I asked ChatGPT, I like to have a lot of conversations about things. I said, why is it that you believe that true crime is exploding? Is that true? Is true crime exploding as a genre, and why is it? And you know what it said? AI told me this. Americans have lost trust in mainstream media. And so they're starting to question official narratives. That's what AI said about the reason why true crime is exploding. So you have people on stage who are literally saying true crime is exploding, and what's exploding is us, the people who ask questions that the media won't ask. And so this whole show is basically a front for mainstream media to tell their story. They better get on board with the movement, because the movement in true crime is people are losing trust in mainstream media. They're losing trust in the official narrative. And so while it's simultaneously telling us true crime is exploding, they're failing to realize that what it means is they're losing ground because people don't trust them anymore because they only tell one side of the story. That's my take on that.
Yeah.
All right. What else? Let's talk about.
You mentioned about Kaylee's phone.
Oh, one of the biggest moments of surprise, perhaps, in the Stephen and Christy Gonzalez thing was, okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy discussion. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So at one point, Christy pointed out that the FBI, I think it was the FBI, but it was law enforcement for sure. It could have been the FBI, has Kaylee's phone and is trying to break into it. They still have not gained access to her phone, and they're trying to break into Kaylee's phone. And as she stated, they're doing a brute force attack on the phone. So it could be that they're in the phone in 18 minutes, or it could be 18 years. They don't know how long it's going to take to get in the phone, but they're trying to brute force attack the phone. Steve piped up and says, and we're trying to stop that. We're trying to do everything we can to stop that.
He says, I told them to stop.
I told them to stop. I don't want them into her phone. Now, his logic on the surface makes sense. His logic is, I don't want my daughter's private life being a matter of public records request where everybody can dig through and read every message my daughter has sent. And I get that. I on some level, I get that. But you have to understand that many people, including Dr. Turvey, believe that Kaylee was the actual subject of that attack, and that it was about her. So not knowing what the primary motivation is and knowing what was on her phone is a major problem. You have to know what was on her phone.
Even if she wasn't
right.
Even if she wasn't
JJ.
the primary, even if she wasn't the primary.
Right.
What's
up, JJ?
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
How you guys doing?
Good. We're just kind of covering some notes from CrimeCon. But yeah, and that's the part that, like I said, a part of me gets it, right? A part of me gets it. Let's just say, I'm going to give a hypothetical. Let's just say Kaylee sexted with a boyfriend. Do you want everyone in America seeing her talking about her body and her boyfriend's body and all kinds of kinky shit? No, you don't want all of America reading every little fucking detail of your daughter's life. And I get that. But again, you're talking about, she was likely the subject of the attack. At least a lot of people feel that she was. And you won't know if you don't look at who she was texting, who she was calling. Will there be more information on Kaylee's phone about the conversation between her and Jack DeCoeur? The 17-minute phone call that Jack doesn't remember. That's probably going to show up on Kaylee's phone.
Yeah.
Not knowing what's on Kaylee's phone is a problem.
Definitely. I mean, we see her on the phone the whole night. I mean, the food truck, the corner guy, she's on the phone nonstop. I mean, there's no question that stuff on that phone, it doesn't mean that that's who killed her, but I would say most cases could be solved by, someone who, because it's usually by someone that knows you. It's not often that you're gonna randomly be killed by a stranger. I mean, it's usually someone who knows you, or someone wants revenge on you. I would say, and this is why, just as like a side note, that's why I don't know if he'll, I don't think you talked to him in a bit. That's why I think knowing who and what was involved in the 3 fights that Wickholm said, to me, is very important. But
Heart of Gold says, I thought they wanted the truth. Here's the thing.
I don't think so.
There's two, and by the way, we need to get back, because Rhonda wants me to tell you about what Steve Gonzalez said on the phone on the stage, which was shocking about the phone. Mm-hmm. But I think they wanted. I thought they wanted the truth. I'm not sure that they. Okay, there's 2 ways of saying this. I'm not sure that they want the truth anymore, or they honestly believe they already have the truth. So there's a possibility, right? There's a possibility they really honestly believe it happened exactly like they were told, and therefore their argument was, we do have the truth. Like, it's, everybody else needs to stop. We do have the truth now. And so if they really believe that's the truth, then so be it. That's a possibility. Maybe they do think they already have the truth and now they just want everybody to stop. We have the truth. The guy admitted, and they made that point. He admitted guilt. Christy Gonzalez said this as well. There will be no appeal. That's what Christy said. So if Kohberger's working on an appeal, they don't know about it because Christy said there will be no appeal. It's over. That's what she said. And she said it very emphatically. So it made me wonder, do the Gonzalez's know that Brian Kohberger's not going to file any kind of post-conviction relief? Because she said categorically there will not be an appeal. So how does she know that? Is it wishful thinking or do they know something? I don't know. Right. But the slip up, if you will, I felt it was a slip up. It can be explained, and I'll do my best to explain it. Steve, at one point, after Christy talked about how they couldn't get into the phone and they're trying to brute force attack the phone, Steve was asked, has the true crime community, like YouTube, he didn't say YouTube specifically, that's what he's talking about, have they had any positive effect at all? Any positive effect at all? And Steve said, yeah, of course, which was surprising. And he said, people helped establish some timeline issues and stuff like that. So the public helped establish some timeline issues. And he said, for example, when we were in Kaylee's phone, we found out about the grub truck thing and whatever. And I about gasped. Like, wait a minute.
Timeline.
You just, he said we helped correct the police timeline using Kaylee's phone. And yet they're telling us that they can't get into Kaylee's phone and they're trying to get them to stop. And I was like, what the fuck and even Christy jumped all over Steve immediately and says, oh, wait a minute. We didn't get into Kaylee's phone. We didn't get it. Let me clarify what he just said. And she was immediately, she knew what a fuck up he had just made and said, let me make this clear. We never got into Kaylee's phone. Kaylee's phone is on our plan. So we knew we had access to certain things of Kaylee's plan. So that's where they backpedaled. But he literally said, when we got it, we helped correct the timeline using her phone. And Christy said, well, let me clarify that. We didn't get into her phone. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Wow.
Did you lock the phone and then tell law enforcement you're not going to give them the password? Was it Kaylee's password or your password that's locking the phone at this point? Like you had to what the hell just happened there?
Lee, do you remember what they call us?
Pro-burgers?
Yeah.
He's Steve Gonzalez frequently said anybody that challenges the narrative view Kohberger as their hero, and we're pro-burgers, and it disgusts him. So anybody that challenges the official narrative, we viewed him as a hero. One of the things that Christy said, and she was very emotional, and I get it. I on some level I totally get it. She could hardly. First of all, Christy refused to say Brian's name. She would never say Brian Kohberger's name. I will not say his name. And at one point, she broke down, and it was hard for everybody when she said, they refer to my daughter as part of the Idaho 4, and now people are calling it the Idaho 4 because he is somehow a victim as well. And it broke her to hear that people are treating Brian Kohberger as one of the victims and now calling it Idaho 5 because he's a victim too. And they were disgusted. They were disgusted that somehow he's being painted as one of the victims because he was wrongfully convicted or something like that. And so it was hard, and people, were supportive of them, understanding how disgusting that was, which makes it hard for us when we're saying, look, I think you might have gotten something wrong. There's no way it was done the way you said it did. It doesn't mean Kohberger couldn't have been involved, but there's no way it happened the way they said it did. And so for us to question it now, we're treated like you're the monsters who are acting like Kohberger is one of the victims. Well, if he was wrongfully convicted, he was one of the victims, unfortunately. But,
Right.
Well, I mean, the big problem I have with Steve, whether he's just putting on a front because of the lawsuit or whatever, or the money aspect, which is highly possible. Every time I see him attack, the true crime community, like, oh, they're just coming up with these wacky theories and whatever. A lot of what, that may have been looked at as true before we started actually getting documents and stuff. People are spending hours and hours of research actually going over these documents that they're releasing with a fine-tooth comb, like word for word.
Right.
And we're challenging things that are in the PCA and things that we came out 3 years ago now based on the evidence. These aren't just wacky theories. We're basing it on the evidence that is being given to us. So,
well, and here's the thing: their attitude is, and I can't remember. Maybe Rhonda will remember who said it and how they said it. But their thing is, they believe that we out in the public are not capable of reading legal documents correctly. So they're like, we're sick of all these people out there, the armchair people who think that they can understand legal documents and you don't understand them. And I'm like, this is what drives me nuts. I've watched Steve Gonzalez incorrectly say shit from the legal documents. So we're going to be shamed saying we don't understand legal documents when they themselves got the legal documents wrong when they read from it. But somehow it's okay for them to be wrong about the legal like literally, what are we saying? What are we saying? In America, the only people who are allowed to read legal documents are law enforcement or the prosecution, and everybody else is not allowed to read it because we're not qualified to read legal documents. It's asinine, in my opinion. But
yes, yeah, this is
Don
a big,
Erica.
Yep.
Just got here. Hello. And Steve Gonzalez mentioned in an interview with Scott Drone, Crime Talk, about the defense asked if they can take an Alford plea, but was denied. And I never heard that before. I never heard that until that was pointed out to me too. I didn't think Idaho had the Alford plea. I was stunned to hear that the suggestion that Koberger wanted an Alford plea, but they wouldn't let him. Who's they? Did Hitler deny him being able to, did he have the right to take an Alford plea and Hitler denied him the Alford? And that says a lot.
He denied everything else. Might as well.
Right. What is an Alford plea? An Alford plea is saying, I didn't do this, but you're going to convict me anyways. It's basically saying, I maintain I didn't do shit, but you're going to convict me because you don't have to say it. It's an unfair trial. You've got enough evidence to put me away and you're going to convict me even though I didn't do it. That's what an Alford plea is. And they're saying he wasn't allowed. He wanted to. That's what I heard. I heard that he wanted to have an Alford plea to say, I didn't do it, but you're going to convict me anyways, and wasn't allowed to. So I don't know. I need to get to the bottom of that.
No, this is a strong statement, but what I would say that, they may believe that. What I would say, I don't know necessarily that I can say that, I believe BK is innocent, but what I would say is I have not been shown evidence that would, if I was a juror, I have not been shown evidence that would show me beyond reasonable doubt that BK did it. That's what I would say. That,
Yeah, and look, here's another thing that Steve said, and I think he said this in the interview that was in the Expo Center that we didn't see on stage. I think I saw the clips. I might be conflating this. Steve's logic process is this flawed, in my opinion. Come on, people. He literally said he was stargazing. That's ridiculous. You really going to buy that? And I'm like, so if you're saying he's the killer because the alibi is ridiculous, did you not know there was a meteor shower going over at the same time he went out to go watch the meteor shower? So you're saying it's ridiculous, but yet that's an actual thing that happened. There was a celestial event that night. So he could have, but you're making it sound like any person who thinks that is a moron. Well, other people were going out to watch that celestial event, I'll guarantee you. So why is it so moronic? And if that's just how far your logic is going to go, that just because you think it's a dumb question or a dumb alibi, therefore everyone must know he's guilty because the alibi is dumb, that's not thinking it through too far, in my opinion. But I'm looking at comments that are coming through. What do you got, JJ? You're awfully quiet.
No, I'm just I was listening. I was listening to a little bit of the Custody Queens.
Oh yeah,
with Holland.
Yeah,
earlier, and it's funny. He said that the hair was the biggest thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Clump of hair in Ethan's hand, but he still says the screams heard earlier are irrelevant, and it's the later timeline. And his justification for that was that, well, somebody let the dog in at whatever it was, whatever time it was. That he basically used Murphy as the justification for why that's the timeline.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting because you have three different people that had access to information and files that the public didn't. One says the hair is not really that big of a deal. The other one and says that the black SUV is really the big thing. And then he's saying the hair is the biggest deal, but they all say that it's the later timeline.
Yeah. I think it's weird to me that they're all sticking to the later timeline because I don't think that I personally don't think the later timeline is correct, but that's my gut feeling. And it's weird that they're all lining up to stay with the late timeline. But
or it's just that the later timeline is maybe just part of it. Could have,
it could have been, things could have been happening during that time.
Right. But I think
it's not all of it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but they're pretty much definitively dismissing that anything happened earlier.
I know, and I know, and JJ, and I think that's what bothers.
Right.
That's what bothers me the most. I feel like they don't want people looking at what happened earlier in the night, and I think something happened earlier, and they're doing everything they can to say, hey, it may not have happened the way that you thought it did, but don't look over here because we don't want you looking. We don't want you looking.
Right, JJ. They're basically right. They think, no, it happened after 4. Like an army of 10 people came in and did the whole I know.
Yeah, I mean, now on the sort of the flip side, in a way, is yes, things could have happened later too, but I think the way they're all dismissing that anything happened earlier is a little suspicious. Because why wouldn't you say, "Oh yeah, I did hear there were some things going on." Oh, nobody addressed the flash that was seen on 2 different, surveillance cameras, the Linda Lane and 1112, and he dismissed. The custody queens did ask him, were there any gunshot wounds, and he said no, there were no gunshot wounds. But the first officer on the scene did initially think that it was a murder suicide, so he said that. Look, I get it. In my opinion, the Gonsalves family, I don't know anything about them on a personal level. All I know is what I see with my own eyes is I see a lot of performative type of displays, because anybody who's behaves that way and seeks the spotlight to that degree is opening themselves up for scrutiny. And they just behavior, you have to pay attention to behavior. And it seems like they have some motivation that's beyond finding the truth. That is what that's my interpretation. I can only tell you what I get from it.
And he also flipped. He flipped too.
Yeah, he flipped.
Remember
right.
that.
I have to agree. I wanted to bring that point up, and I didn't know. Hardly anybody even mentions any of the other families in this case. They've mentioned the Gonsalveses. And why? Because the Gonsalveses are taking every stage they possibly can. They're on every TV show. They take every TV opportunity. They go to CrimeCon and take center stage. They're inviting the dialogue. So people are leaving alone, for the most part, the people who want to be left alone, but the Gonsalveses are inviting the public stage. So you can't, in my opinion, you can't have it both ways. You can't go out there and be a mouthpiece and be super vocal, shaming and shitting over everyone in America that doesn't think the way you do, and then get mad because people are telling us that we're wrong. Well, yeah, because you're going out there fucking passing the mainstream narrative bullshit from your pulpit, so people are going to attack back. So when you get attacked, are they attacking you because they're just attacking you for no fucking reason? Or did you open that bottle of worms, or that can of worms? See, I'm mixing my euphemisms again. Did you open that can of worms when you went on public stages and shit all over YouTubers saying that they're horrible people? Because that's
that people won't quit staring at them.
Right.
Simultaneously while on stage.
Right. And other people are laying low, and we're not talking about
them.
So
yeah, it just seems like everything that I've seen in this case for a long time is very heavy-handed. If you're telling the truth and this is it, you got the right guy, okay, goodbye. Great. Go live your life.
Yeah.
What does it matter what other people think? If you believe the right guy's in prison, he took a plea deal, boom, done. You can wipe your hands and move on. But everything is so heavy-handed. You have to believe what we're telling you, or you're a crazy conspiracy. when things happen the way that they're presented to the public, they don't need all this pomp and circumstance and drama and performative stuff after the fact. You just, this is the guys in prison, and you go on with your life. You don't care what other people say. You don't put yourself on social media, like become influencers. And it's just, to me, all of this, man, is suspicious to me. All this heavy-handedness, steering, not just presenting a narrative to the public, steering. Because when you are shaming people who disagree with the official narrative, that's not just presenting a narrative.
Yeah.
That is, you're telling people they're crazy if they don't believe the quote unquote experts.
Right.
So that to me is indicative of orchestration.
And another thing that, and I don't want to pick again. So normally I would say I don't want to pick on Christy Gonzalez. I do feel, I honestly can't say this enough. I have sympathy for the families, including the Gonzalez's. It can't be easy to lose your daughter, and I get it. So I don't want to, but if I have any negativity, again, they're inviting the conversation because they're taking public stage and shitting on me indirectly by saying YouTubers are horrible people. So I'm going to have to, I would have left it alone, but you're going to attack me, right? So one of the things that bothered me was something that Christy said on stage at CrimeCon. Unless you've been in our shoes, you have no right to talk. So is this where we're at? If you didn't have a child murdered, you can't talk about your child being, like, nobody can talk about it unless you, and let me tell you, no one has been in the same shoes as somebody else. Even if somebody else had lost their child, it's not the same way and the same circumstances that you did. So no one apparently is allowed to talk if they haven't had the exact same circumstances that you did. Having the attitude of no one has a right to talk if they haven't been in my shoes. Well,
that's a dumb,
that's asinine.
Right.
It's a dumb statement because, you know, one of the big things is trying to figure out, you know, from some of these serial killers, or even if you're not a serial killer, just any, you know, some, you know, violent act or homicide. Why was this done? Why did, you know, what is it in the psyche? What is it, you know? And the only way we can do that is being able to study, look at someone's past and, you know, gather like what experiences they had and study. So maybe something could be prevented in the future. We can't prevent something or try to maybe prevent something if everything is hidden and locked behind a door, you know?
Another thing that she said that I didn't like that Christy said was, she said she was shaming again. People have written books and done documentaries about our family and didn't get our permission. And she hinted that no one should be allowed to do a documentary or a book without getting their permission first. And again, I'm like, I don't know how out of touch we are. If you think that, again, like, so in other words, that idea would be a narrative shuts down if the person doesn't want anybody to talk about it. We just can't talk about it because they don't want you to talk about it. They have to get your permission first. So if you don't give their permission, no documentaries can be done about it. No movies can be done about it. They didn't even ask her permission. I'm like, they don't have to ask your permission. And it seemed like their foundation wants to set rules that you have to get their permission to do movies or documentaries or books. You know,
that's what I said last night. It's a slippery slope, and they're going to try to keep passing laws and regulations and everything else. This whole thing with you know, Olivia getting a law passed and everything, it's a slippery slope, and here we go.
And another thing that bothered me is, and let me tell you some things that Andy, did you say Cahan? I think Rhonda said it was Cahan.
Yeah.
Another thing he said was, and I think he was wrong about this, he gave examples. He gave horrendous extremist examples to get the audience on their side. He said, for example, you all may have seen this movie Dahmer that was a series on Netflix. No families were contacted in that movie and it just came out and nobody was even asked about it or whatever. And I'm like, that's not true. I read the director saying we contacted several families and no one wanted to talk to us, but they gave them the option. It was the families that decided not to talk. They said they didn't even ask the families. That's what he said from the camera. I'm like, I happen to know they did because I read about it when the whole hoopla came out, that the director defender said we did ask the families and they chose not to speak to us, because Steve said they should at least have to ask our input. We should be able to, he said, we should have a seat at the table. If they're going to do a book or a movie, we should have a seat at the table. They should have to ask us about it and talk to us about it. And they're like, yeah, for example, the Dahmer thing, nobody was asked about it. And I'm like, the director said they did ask the families, and the families said they didn't want to talk. And so they proceeded with the movie, sure. But the point being is that they did ask. So it wasn't true to say nobody was even asked in that family. Another extreme example, let me tell you the two extreme fuckery that he used on stage. He used an example, and maybe Rhonda will have the details better, but he used an example of how it's never appropriate for people to go get crime scene photos of bodies. And so, and one of the female that was on stage with them said the same thing. We want to make it so that it is never acceptable that someone needs to see a body. And we want to pass a law that nobody's allowed to see a body. And I'm going to tell you, by the way, one compromise that I thought was pretty good. One and I talked about this a little bit. But anyways,
yeah,
one of the extremes he used was a case in which a young girl, I think she was 15-ish, young teen, and her brother, who was like 9, were murdered. And someone went after a public records request and got the photos and published them online. And he suggested, that Andy Cahan or whatever, that the whole reason why they wanted the photos is because it was a nude young girl and a nude young boy, and they wanted to people wanted to basically get off on seeing nude children dead. And so that was he goes, this is the kind of stuff they do with crime scene photos. They go after this so they can have young children naked and dead to get off on. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is nothing close to what people are doing when they're trying to solve cases or whatever. But he's trying to spin it, right? He's trying to spin the narrative that anyone who wants to go after crime scene photos is basically jerking off to murder porn, and that's what they want to do. And then he uses extreme things about children, dead children, and how they just want to see naked children dead. Like, no part of that relates to Idaho 4 at all, in my opinion. Another extreme case he used was Hustler magazine, apparently, had requested, through a public records request, autopsy photos, or not, the crime scene photos of a person that had been raped. And they said, look at these 6 individuals. They were going to put that in the magazine for people to get their jollies off. And I'm like, you don't know that Hustler magazine was going to publish the nude photos from the thing. They were probably doing a story on it. Because in case you didn't realize, Hustler, while they have a reputation for nude photos, also does editorial and journalism pieces. They cover stories. But he tried to sensationalize it that Hustler magazine was going to do murder porn for people to jerk off to on nude photos. And I'm sure that's not what they're doing. But he was using these examples to say, this is why no one should ever have crime scene photos, because that's what they're going to do with it. So, yeah.
Well, Steve was always alluding to things in the early stages of this case, how he was getting jerked around and the authorities were, right? He was very vocal about it.
Yes.
So basically his logic is we should all just trust the government. Trust me, bro. We should just trust whatever they say happened. That's basically, if you strip it down to its most basic elements, that's the argument. The public is not entitled to their First Amendment rights. You just trust the government, right? This is why I don't trust him, because he was the one crying about his First Amendment rights early on in the case. And now what is him and his family are doing? It's suspicious to me. Why all of a sudden, Mr. Conservative, constitutionalist is now all over? It's suspicious to me.
Yeah. And he kind of hinted, it wasn't here, but it was somewhere else. Steve hinted that at first he was all about openness and transparency. But at some point he decided he was good at the answer, and then he wanted no transparency. So what are you sending the message then? You want transparency when it benefits you, but then you don't want transparency when it doesn't benefit you. So you're trying to decide, how do you even make that rule? We don't pass a law that we get to have transparency, but nobody else does.
Yeah.
They were also
Yeah, he does. They don't feel that we have the right to know what happened or what was going on, and it's completely against what our founding fathers instituted with court. It's the whole point why trials and stuff, they're supposed to be public. This whole thing about locking down and all this shit, this isn't this isn't what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it's by the way, so I wanted to talk about the new law coming in. Somebody, Microdot says, and the new law coming in July. Issue with G is not until number 23. Keyword not important until 22. So the new law that's coming into effect. By the way, we talked about this a little bit. You and I when I was at CrimeCon.
Yeah.
One of the things they stated, and I can't remember what state it was. It might have been Georgia, and I don't know how many states have this. But one compromise that almost sounded acceptable to me was, he said, we need to have more states like Georgia or whatever it was, where if you want to see the crime scene photos, you need to go to the courthouse to see them. And I thought, oh, that's almost an acceptable compromise. Sure, I can understand them not wanting murder photos posted all over the websites of things where anybody could just stumble across them and children can see murdered bodies. I get it. And you can staunch that perhaps by saying, you, the public, have a right to see them if you want to, but you got to come watch them. You got to come look at them at the courthouse, and you can't take them with you. That's almost an acceptable compromise. What they want to do, however, is they want to make it so the public can't even go to the courthouse and see them. Just categorically, you're not allowed to see them in public. You have no reason whatsoever to see them, and there's never a good excuse. And so we want you to have zero access. But I think maybe a compromise is something like that, where if the public wants to see them, they can go see them in person. They don't have to get the photos and go post them on their website and shit and make a big spectacle about it. But if you're a researcher and you need to see it with your own eyeballs to be able to disprove a certain theory or prove a certain theory that you've been working on, you should have the right to go in there and look at the photos and question it yourself.
Yeah, you're right.
And talk about it. You can talk about it.
Yeah, it is Georgia. Yeah, but they have very certain rules on it though. But it says, if a credentialed member of the press wishes to view restricted crime scene photos, they must follow a specific process. There's a request form detailing the case victim or suspect, and you sign an agreement to refrain from copying, duplicating, or distributing the materials.
So stop right there, because what you just said is a problem. In my opinion, what you just said is a problem. Credentialed media.
Yeah.
The First Amendment does not fucking protect credentialed media. There's states that do it. Kentucky is another one I know, because I went after public records in Kentucky, and they told me that I wasn't an established media representative. The First Amendment free speech is not a fucking right to free speech if you're CNN or Fox. It's not. It extends to every American. It's not. You don't have to be approved by your government to have freedom of speech or to get access to things. But there's some states that have gone to that attitude. You need to be a credentialed media, which means YouTubers will never get it. You have to be the mainstream media parrot in those states like Georgia and Kentucky in order to get access. If you're recognized as one of the people who will tell the mainstream media story correctly, then you can have access. But if you're somebody who's going to question the narrative, you don't get access. And that's a violation, in my opinion, of the First Amendment.
Right.
Well, that's what that law is essentially. I mean, if you're pushing, limiting what the public can have access to, what you're saying is, I mean, this may sound like a big leap, but that's how the first stages of totalitarianism start. Is only this small group of powerful people should have access to the free flow of information. So it's basically condemning independent journalism and citizen journalism, right? So,
well, it's even more restricted than that. It says only people who can view. This is in Georgia. Only law enforcement officers, attorneys, and credentialed members of the press are allowed to view graphic materials at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI headquarters, or the relevant law enforcement agency.
Yeah, but it's going to happen in Idaho. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And well, you just, like I always say, watch what happens as a result of high profile cases, because there's always something, and it sometimes takes a few years. And most people have already lost interest in cases after a few years. Not with the Idaho 4 case, but with most cases. I believe if the attention on the Idaho 4 case had died down, like a lot of cases do, then they would have already started implementing these things. But they have to do it strategically, because they don't want people to make the connection as easily between the case and legislation that's, happening as a result of the case. I mean, sometimes they shove it down right in your face, but this is the direction the country is going.
Yeah.
And if the G family doesn't want to be attacked or scrutinized, go live your life. Don't worry about what other people are.
Right. Turn off YouTube. Turn off the TV.
Don't try to be influencers. Don't try. Go on with your life.
Yeah.
And don't worry about what everybody else does.
Right.
If you don't want to, clearly they love the spotlight.
Yeah.
Right.
I just wanted to comment real quick on Neoni's comment here. I've seen YouTubers mess up a lot of shit. I've seen mainstream media mess up a lot of shit too. A lot of shit. And they somehow get a pass. A lot of times mainstream media, and I could give you examples, but I won't do it all right now, where they'll put something front page on their paper, and then when they realize they made a major mistake, they'll put the retraction on page 23 of the paper. By the way, we said on Tuesday this thing, but it wasn't entirely true. Here's the actual answer. And that's when when paper used to be a thing. I've seen mainstream media say something about a family of a victim, whatever, and the family had to lawyer up and say that's not what we said at all. You've completely misrepresented me. Media oftentimes get wrong the number of deaths, the number of injuries, and they have to retract those things. Media gets it wrong all the time. So to just go after, and I'm not saying that you were doing this, Neon, but to go after just YouTubers of, well, they mess things up sometimes. Media, all media, everyone messes things up from time to time. So is it only allowed to mess things up if you're mainstream media? That's my counter to that. But
yeah, and it's the age-old trust the experts argument, right? Yeah. I would argue that most of these higher profile platforms, and like, for example, Megyn Kelly was on Sean Ryan's podcast. Anybody who follows that kind of stuff knows what I'm talking about. And it's crazy to me how establishment she is. It's anybody who, and look, she's very good at what she does. She's very good at what she does. I'll give her that. But she will almost never stray from the establishment narrative. She's so establishment. It's crazy. And that's what most people are consuming.
Yeah. So let me give you a couple more highlights from the Stephen Christy Gonzalez thing. Christy said, I think it was Christy that said it, that it's a shame that Whitcomb, she didn't say his name, but she talked about the new book that just came out. Well, what new book just came out that they're having problems with? It's Christopher Whitcomb's Broken Plea. It's a shame that he gets to make millions, she said, off that book. I don't know. Did Christopher Whitcomb make millions? I don't know. I don't know what the publisher paid him. She was very upset that he gets to make millions off the book. And then she said that she was concerned, I think it was her that said it, she was concerned that Brian Koberger gets to make money off of selling his story. And then Andy Cahan said, I don't think most people in America realize this, but people think that criminals are not allowed to profit off of their crimes because of, you've heard of things like the Son of Sam laws. And he said, most people don't realize the Son of Sam laws were overturned a while ago. And he said, and it happened because somebody brought a case to the Supreme Court, went all the way up to the Supreme Court as a violation of First Amendment rights. And Andy literally said, people don't realize the Son of Sam laws have been overturned. You can make money off of it. And he says, unfortunately, our Supreme Court keeps standing on the side of freedom of the First Amendment. I'm like, it's just fucking, I don't know, the absurdity of him saying, unfortunately, the Supreme Court wants to uphold the United States Constitution, and it kind of pisses it off. But they keep siding on the side of freedom of speech. But I just thought that was surprising. I don't know. I think each state has their own rules about whether or not a criminal can profit from their crime by writing a book. So Idaho probably has their own rules, but the Son of Sam laws, I did look up. They have been overturned. I did look into a little bit of that case that overturned the Son of Sam laws. So people who think it's impossible for people to make money off of their crimes, and then to further that thought, Andy went into a showing all the merchandise that's being sold, serial killer dolls. You can buy a Jeffrey Dahmer doll, for example, that when you get a surprise, you unzip his belly and you can see what he had for dinner last night and see body parts in it. And everybody gave this disgusted thing. This is the shit that they're doing out there. This is the kind of stuff Kohberger is going to be able to do. He can make money off of his crimes and sensationalize this. Another thing, and I know that I'm running a lot together, and then I'll let you guys talk. Steve went on a big tirade about Brian Kohberger was obsessed with blood and guts. He literally had a PhD in murder, is what he said. Brian Kohberger, and then he backtracked. He said he was working on his PhD, but he said he has a PhD in murder. This guy obsesses about blood and guts. It's what fuels him. He loves blood and guts. That's what he was going to do for a living. And I'm like, so what you're implying, Steve, is every criminologist, including people who work for the FBI and people who've done law enforcement their whole life, must be obsessed with blood and guts if they went into criminology. Like, what are you trying to say? Well, he's got a PhD in blood and guts. He's obsessed with it. He literally was getting a degree in it. Yeah, so is everybody working at the FBI. Everybody at the FBI must have an obsession with blood and guts because they had to do that same shit. Like, think for a little bit before you say things. I mean, again, so this is the narrative that he's going to keep pushing out. Brian Kohberger loved blood and guts. He wanted to be around it. They're still saying he was stalking the girls. They're still saying all the things that the prosecution in the case literally said. There's no evidence of stalking. There's no evidence of a sexual motivation. And he said he gets off on it. That's what does gets off? It sounds sexual to me when you say he gets off on this. He gets off on this. Okay, that sounds sexual to me. Bill Thompson, there's no sexual motivation. He wasn't stalking the girls, but they're still saying that. They're still going to WSU lawsuit saying he was stalking the girls and he was sexually obsessed.
Of course.
And that this crime was something he got his jollies off of. So I don't get it.
Performative, man. It's just to me, it's just performative. I'm sorry, that's just what I see.
Another thing, by the way, that Steve Gonzalez said that got cheers is that we are now going to start hunting the killers using IgG. So Othram Lab plug, their foundation is, we are now, he's like, we're going to turn the tides. We are now going to start stalking the killers. So these stalkers are stalking people. We're going to start hunting the killers using IgG. So that's what their big focus is. More money for Othram and all those.
Should I make a public service announcement now or wait till later?
Sure. Do you have a discount code, JJ?
Oh my God. I'm gonna start doing fake ad reads on my channel where I just make up the most absurd shit.
By the way, I think from our conversation yesterday, I think I'm ordering those cameras. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I heard. I get it. It's a good. I mean, like JJ said, it's nothing wrong with owning a ring cam. But yeah, it's
no, it's not. Of course not. And that's most smart people can get what I'm getting at. It's like they groom you with something that's acceptable. I just did an episode about limited hangouts. Yeah, how they satiate people with a little bit of information, and I tied it to controlled opposition and other things, but this is CIA 101, guys. This is not anybody could learn about this in 15 minutes of internet searches. They do it little by little, incrementally. Anybody out here in the chat or whatever that studied psychology, even on the undergraduate level, one of the classes you have to take, you take Psych 101. And in Psych 101, you cover behaviorism, you cover social psychology, the different methodologies, cognitive behavioral, the psychodynamic, right? There's the core foundational aspects of psychology. Behaviorism is one of the oldest. Yeah. And you learn about grooming, you habituate people to things little by little, right? And then you can they'll accept more and more and more. And so when you take that to a super high advanced level with literally the best psychologists in the world, that's the way they do it. And
so
anyway,
sorry. Yeah, real quick. I want to end with like a few more thoughts on the Stephen Christie show, and what my thoughts were, and allow Rhonda to leave if she'd like to, because what I'd like to do for I normally wrap up at 2 hours. I think I'll go a little long tonight if you guys want, telling you other cases. There was other cases that I found interesting. I'll save that for the last hour. But Rhonda was like, "Do I need to be here for all night long, or can I go do some other things?" So I want to give Rhonda an opportunity to say a few things about her overall thoughts about CrimeCon. And then if she wants to go, she can go and we can hang out and I can tell you about all the other cases, or she's welcome to stay with us for the other cases. But let me tell you a few more things real quick about Stephen Christie. I thought it was interesting. Again, the female that was up there with them that said, "Oh yeah, oh God, Rhonda, the deer story. Fuck, hold on. I'm going to, so let me finish this.
Uh-oh.
Let me finish. I was going to start the show with that. Let me finish this, the thought about Christie, and we'll get back to the deer thing. So, the same female who said, "Hey, you can donate to the foundation. We love money." She also repeated the idea there's so much crime and so little money. So again, we need more money to fight crime because there's so much crime. So pour the money into the coffers because law enforcement needs more money for the crime. That was a little bit bothersome. And then she said, one of the things I thought, I love hypocrisy. There was several hypocrisies. One in the Courtney Kenny case I want to share with you later. But she said something to the effect of that people get off on living through vicarious trauma, meaning they identify with the victims and the victim's family, and they get off on that. And I thought, isn't this fucking the pot calling the kettle black? You're on stage forming a victim advocate foundation to raise money for the families and telling us about their sob story while saying people get off on associating and sharing, what does she call it, vicarious trauma with the victims and the victim's family, like you're doing on stage right now by hosting the victims and the victim's family, telling us that people are somehow should be ashamed of vicariously living through the trauma of the families like you're doing. Do people not see their own hypocrisy when they talk? So I just, it's insane to me. All right, let me tell the deer story and then I'll let Rhonda have her say. So get this, we're driving to CrimeCon. It's late at night. We've been on the road for 20 hours. It was supposed to be a 15-hour drive, but 8 of it was spent in Boise. I'm tired. It's kind of somber. We're on this long stretch of road in Nevada, and a sign comes up for a deer crossing. And my wife says to me, she says, "That is so stupid. Why would they have the deer cross there? That's like the dumbest place to put it." And I stopped and I thought, oh my God, is my wife that ignorant? Like, and I turned to her like, "Rhonda, what did you just say?" She's like, "That's like the dumbest place to have them cross." And I'm like, okay, I have to. And then it became clear that she knows damn well she's fucking with me, but she was like straight deadpan. She was straight, and it was like, please tell me you're kidding, right? And she's like, of course I'm kidding, but she had like the deadpan down, right? Like 10 miles down the road, there was this overpass on the highway.
Wait, hold on. They said it was a big deer migration area. Remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's deer signs everywhere. So then we're a little bit down the road after doing this whole like, that's a dumb place for them to have them cross. There's an overpass in the middle of nowhere, no fucking road. It's just an overpass on the highway. And she's like, "It's so cool that they have that overpass for the deer to cross over the highway like that." And I'm like, fucking stop it, Rhonda. Fucking stop it. Turns out she's fucking dead right. That actually is true. They have watched the migration patterns. They have massive fences and they funnel the deer across the things. Like, and I thought she's still fucking with me. I'm like, fucking stop it, Rhonda. Like, she's like, "Yeah, they made that bridge for the deer." And I'm like, God damn it. I'm not like, it was not a deer crossing. And anyways, she was dead right. I thought
they make tunnels and they make bridges.
They need to do that in Colorado, man.
Yeah.
I think we actually saw one. I'm not positive, but it kind of looked like just foliage built over the highway.
Yeah, they actually have it look, like natural. They have like sagebrush and stuff on top of it, so it looks natural, and it's a crossing for the migratory herd to cross. And it was
stats.
Huh?
I was reading you the stats. Remember?
Yeah, I was gonna say it has had a massive impact. It saved like 1,000 and something deer strikes in the first year. That completely dropped the numbers down of deer strikes because they literally will cross over in these areas, and it's completely changed the numbers. And it made it so that it's much safer on that highway because they'll cross over. They'll cross over where they're funneled to cross over. Not with that deer sign. Apparently, they don't read the fucking sign like they're supposed to. And cross where they're told to. They do take the bridge. But
Stupid deer.
You must think I'm really dumb.
I was worried for a minute, and I'm like, tell me, Rhonda, tell me you're kidding, right? You are kidding.
I wish they could get the elk to cross at the sign where
I
live,
know there was some.
Those things are so huge.
Oh yeah.
Like you see how big elk are, like gargantuan compared to deer. Yeah. And I've had some close calls, knock on wood, man. And an elk, it's scary how big they are. A big elk will just total a full-size truck. I mean, it's insane how big they are.
And there's a lot of
those damn wild turkeys can pack a punch.
And
too.
Rhonda's right. Rhonda, and somebody said it in the chat, and Rhonda's right. It saved lives. I mean, motorists have been killed. It's not just the deer that get killed. Drivers get killed hitting the
motorcyclists.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been coming down mountain passes where you can't see around the corner because you're going around a mountain basically, and you turn that corner and there's 3 deer or elk sometimes right in the road, and you have to react so quickly.
Yeah. On
a tiny narrow road, it's scary stuff, man.
They need to teach the deer to look both ways before crossing.
I know. Come on, you can train animals. What's going on? Where are they spending their money?
Yeah, my dad used to do that deadpan shit to my mom all the time. Anyways, he used to do that shit. And so Rhonda pulled it off brilliantly. Thank you very much for making me think that I married a moron. And then I scold her like, stop that shit with the deer crossing. There's not a deer crossing where that actually was true. I was the moron. So there you go. All right, before we let Rhonda have the option to leave, she's certainly willing to stay to talk about the other cases if you guys want. Now, maybe if this is a little long, we can do another night of the other cases, but we can keep going with the cases. Is there anything you wanted to share, Rhonda, from your overall experience and thought of CrimeCon or the?
Are we going to talk about the Las Vegas thing?
I am going to talk about the Las Vegas in the next session starting here after we get done talking about. So yeah, I want to talk about Las Vegas for sure. Any other comments?
I'll stick around.
Okay. So what Rhonda's talking about is the best show, I thought, at CrimeCon was a 2.5 hour special with first responders from the Las Vegas shooting. They broke it into 2 parts. So they did about an hour and 15 minutes and took a break, and then another like an hour and 15 minutes or whatever, and then ended. One of the speakers was a sergeant of Las Vegas Metro at the time. I actually reached out to him after the show, and he was willing to talk to me about coming on our show. So I'm hoping to be able to have him on our show. He and I were supposed to talk today on the phone, and it didn't happen. But he said, yeah, let's talk about this on the phone tomorrow, which was yesterday. And it didn't happen today. So hopefully he didn't go check out my channel and go, oh, fuck no. Like, hopefully he will still talk to me. But whatever the case may be, he seemed to be a busy guy, but he goes all over the world. Not just the country, but all over the world. And they usually give an 8-hour presentation on Las Vegas. They did it in 2 hours to us, and they usually do it to law enforcement. And so it would be great to have that opportunity. The biggest thing that I learned several things. In fact, I want to show you, if I can, a video. Let's see, video file, and go here. I don't know. I hope this will play. I've been having some challenges lately. All right, so here's Las Vegas. There's the Mandalay Bay. And,
wow, that's a cool video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so right here, that, if you can see you don't see my mouse. Shit. To the right of Mandalay Bay is a gray parking lot area that I'll continue to play this in a minute. That's where the Jason Aldean was performing when the shooting started. And I can back up just a hair. Let me back this up. That that area right there to the right, that's very open, exposed. That's where the concert venue was happening, right across from the Luxor and the wing. So Mandalay is kind of like this triangular shaped kind of thing, but there's a wing jutting out there. So the shooter had allegedly the room on the 32nd floor. He had two rooms, 32, 134, and 135 adjoining rooms, and had the door open between the suites. Really fascinating shit that I learned on this fucking thing about details that I didn't know. It's been so long since I watched this case. And I was big into the conspiracies and shit like that, but I learned so much that I want to share with you, and I'll do that tonight if you guys are interested in talking about. But one of the things that he pointed out was that I thought was interesting was trying to rotate to it right there. So off to the right hand side, and again I can't really point to it on the screen because I don't know how to do that. There's two tankers. I don't know if you can see them, but it's to the right of Mandalay Bay out there a little ways. There's two tankers. The shooter, he said, the group said, had two types of rifles in the room. He had 223 weapons in one room and 308s in the other room. And he was using the 308 weapon to fire on those tankers at the very start. Their theory is he wanted to explode the tankers that had fuel in them to drive the crowd towards him so he could kill more people. So that was their theory, that he actually shot at them. He hit the tankers 8 times or 9 times with a 308 round. They claim the tankers didn't explode because, fortunately for them, he hit above the fuel line. Now, the part that confuses me about that is I would think above the fuel line is where the vapors are at and would be more likely to explode on impact with some kind of spark. But whatever the case may be, the story is that he fired on those at the start and was planning on having the crowd run to them, was their theory. Another possibility could be that he was going to cause an explosion and send half the city to go respond to the explosion so that law enforcement would take longer time to respond to him at the hotel. But they didn't mention that. That was my own theory. I was like, what if he was trying to blow that up to cause a diversion and draw, half the city's resources to the tankers? Whatever the case may be. That was kind of interesting stuff, and lots of crazy shit that I learned about the Vegas shoot. Let me finish this rotation. Is there anything else? So right, if I come this way, his room would have been on the lower third from the top, the floor 32. Great, interesting stories I'm willing to share with you about what I learned. But I guess I should ask the panelists. Are you guys interested in talking a little bit about what we learned from the Vegas shooting, or no?
Yeah.
It was really interesting.
It was fascinating. So one of the things that they showed that I thought was interesting, and I'm really curious to get JJ's take on it, because I talked to JJ, I've been saying to JJ, I know he's got something he was going to do on the Vegas shooting, and I remember the conspiracy days. One of the takeaways I'll say, and is I'm totally open to it didn't happen the way they said it did, but some things were explained in a way that I was like, holy shit, that makes fucking complete sense. What they showed was a graphic. It actually showed they showed a video of the crowd dispersing after he had opened fire. And by the way, it took a while. He had shot like over 100 rounds into the crowd before the crowd figured out what was going on. It was just like, and nobody was like moving. The chaos hadn't started yet because people weren't realizing they were being hit for quite a while. Some people were hit and died in their chair. They'd never even moved. They were just, like they were still watching the concert. But what happened was, at some point, the light turned on. That was part of their emergency procedures. That if something happened of a major event like that, they would turn the lights on. So, which ironically makes it easier for the shooter to see people, right? So they flooded the whole area with light, and he's firing a gun down into the crowd that's now illuminated, which just fucking compounded the problem. Yeah, the helicopter, by the way, they did not talk about the helicopter affiliate special. So helicopter is a throwback to my old conspiracy days. I remember the helicopter. By the way, when we were there, helicopters were flying over in a pattern all the time. There was just one helicopter after another. I think there were law enforcement helicopters that were always flying over Vegas. I don't know if that's what it was like back in 2017 when the shooting happened.
Well, but they were helicopters that were not, they were coming off of the flight radar. So it wasn't just helicopters. It was helicopters that some people believed they sounded like military helicopters, which are very different than the ones that people take rides in. Because people do that, they take helicopter rides over Vegas and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were, I remember my early on, I was all over this case, and the first thing that I saw that was going around about conspiracies was people used the flight trackers, and there were like multiple helicopters that were disconnecting from the flight trackers, right, in that area. And so that people saw flashes coming from the sky and things like that. That was a big one in the era when I haven't dove into it deeply in a while. But
I'd love to dive into it again. I was re-intrigued by the whole case. And again, they didn't talk about the helicopters at all. And real quick, Don Caps, yes, we didn't meet Joe Kenda. Unfortunately, we didn't meet any celebrities this time around for some reason, but we did watch a lengthy session with Joe Kenda. So I'll tell you all about it if you hang out, and we can talk about Joe Kenda. But anyways, so some other things that I thought were interesting about that that they shared was, and this was back to my conspiracy days when I remember some of this. So all of the reports of shootings happening at other casinos, right? The Tropicana, he had even reported it. MGM Grand had said that there were shots fired in the MGM Grand and whatever. What they showed on a video at the very beginning was a video footage of everybody dispersing out of every fucking corner and nook of that thing in all directions. And they were hitting all those same hotels. And what was happening, they said, was people were running in, having been shot, and or covered in blood by somebody who'd been shot next to them, into the hotel. And then people were saying somebody's shooting in this hotel. So it was one of those mass chaos kind of things. People were running into all the hotels covered in blood, having injuries of being shot, saying, I've been shot. And people were naturally assuming they got shot in this hotel. And so they were being flooded. The 911 center was being flooded with calls. There's a shooting at the MGM. There's a shooting at the Tropicana. There's hostages even was one of the things. Somebody said the hostages were taken at one of the hotels. And it was adding to all this confusion for law enforcement because in their storytelling, it was all these people scattering everywhere they could that had been hit with bullets and whatever and saying I've been shot, and it was being reported, and it was making it look like there were shooters in other hotels when it was just all the same people, they say.
Well, here's the question that I would ask right out of the gate. Why does a former sergeant from Vegas police, Metro, whatever he was, need to go on a press tour dispelling all of the quote unquote conspiracy theories? If a crime happened the way that the public was told, you don't need to do a press tour.
It's a little weird. Yeah,
there's been multiple very detailed documentaries done. Mindy Robinson did one. She lives in Vegas, and that's the first thing I would say at an event like CrimeCon. You're selling a version of the official narrative, because from what all the various research that I've looked at, and it's been a while since I did deep dives.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
but I've done deep dives. And I've watched multiple documentaries about it. There was gun activity around other parts of the Strip,
right? And I think,
you could easily argue that's diversion tactics, right? Get the police to go to those areas, like James Holmes supposedly tried to do, and have his apartment blow up, so police would go to that area and they wouldn't be able to respond to the movie theater quickly and so on. But anyway, that's like just the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah. No, and like I said, I mean, I would say that their presentation, to be fair, wasn't to dispel conspiracy. They didn't really talk much about conspiracy. They just were saying, there were people who were believing that there were shooters in other places, and here's why it happened, but they didn't call it a conspiracy theory, and they didn't spend time talking about that. They did say what they do is this group of 4 people that are on stage, and I don't have their names handy, although I've got it in my app, I could tell you. They travel the world, usually present. Okay, they usually present. Go ahead and tell the names if you want. If you want to tell the names.
So Kenneth Mead, Levi Hancock, and Ashton Pack.
Yeah, and Ashton Pack's the one that I reached out to. He was the Metro Metro PD or Metro Las Vegas Metro. And he was actually away from, he wasn't a first responder in the hotel. I think he was actually stationed at one of the hotels across the strip when they came across the shooter. Some interesting, so I'll just give you I'll give you the highlight. So they normally give this presentation, they said, to law enforcement. So it's usually like lessons learned for law enforcement and things like that. They did have one graphic image in the whole thing, which was the shooter with his head blown off, essentially. They showed that photo. And they did talk about that being a conspiracy in itself, right? Because next to the shooter's body was a revolver, but also underneath his leg was a long rifle of some kind. It was unclear to me. Did you get, Rhonda, whether they said he shot himself with the revolver or with the long arm? Because it sounded to me like they thought he shot himself with the rifle.
It wasn't clear.
It wasn't clear. But what they did say was part of the conspiracy for some people, and they weren't really shitting on the conspiracy theory or community. They weren't doing it like that. They weren't like, all you crazy people. It was just like, by the way, and this caused a problem because what they said happened was when they were trying to identify the shooter who had just shot himself in the face. And by the way, we saw clearly, Rhonda and I, because I know enough about crime scenes, we saw the lividity mark on the back of his head where all the blood had pooled down. So he had been there for a while when they took that picture. I told Rhonda, I said, hey, his head's purple there because lividity. It's been laying in that position for a while. But anyways, they said what happened was when they were trying to identify him, they realized he had a wallet in his back pocket. So they rolled him over to get the wallet out of the back pocket and get his driver's license to compare to his face to see if it was the shooter. And that moving of the body caused some kind of stir in the conspiracy community, because they're like, well, how the fuck did his hand get there, or how did the gun get there? And they couldn't make sense of it. And they're like, well, we moved the body. Now, one would counter argue, then did you take a picture of the body before you moved the body so we could see it in situ and see how it was before you disturbed the body? So there's kind of those questions as well.
Did they also talk about how the sheriff who was in charge of that whole craziness at the time was also the guy who was the law enforcement officer in charge in Lahaina?
No, they didn't. No, I remember that.
It's crazy how they leave certain things out.
That's a funny detail. I did not remember that until you just said it, but I remember that. And that is a weird one, that big fire and shit that happened. And yeah, that's a crazy one. His autopsy states the top teeth were shattered. He wore dentures. So look, the conspiracies are still alive. So anyways, yeah, and it's great. Like, I think that's great. I would love to dive into this story again. And look, if I get Ashton Pack on the show, I'm not going to approach it from the conspiracy angle. I don't think he's interested in the conspiracy angle. Well, I'll tell you what I want. I'll tell you what I want to do with Ashton Pack. What I want Ashton Pack to talk about is how things in chaos, simple things in chaos, can be misunderstood. Like, for example, they played an officer, a police officer, who said shots fired from the west gate. And so he said his rule was, or his thing was, even police officers get things wrong. So you're going to hear an audio and you're going to hear an officer say shots fired from the west gate. Well, they are going to say shots weren't fired from the west gate. It was simply echoing, but an officer heard the echo and said shots fired from the west gate in the chaos. So that they say is, look, even cops are not immune to making mistakes and hearing things wrong, seeing things wrong. They're humans just like the rest of us. And when they report it, the problem is that the community tends to jump all over that. Well, the police said there was somebody shooting from the west gate. So that led to some of the mystique, right? Which is that even the police said there was a shooter at the west gate. Well, was it that, or did a cop just hear an echo off of a building and think there were shots fired there in the chaos? And was it a simple misunderstanding? That's part of the things that people are still digging into. Some other things that I thought were interesting was this, and this is what I remember. All the question about whether he had an accomplice. The things I remember from back in the day, remember this is 2017, this has been a long time. Oh, by the way, so we're going to get to the accomplice thing, but did you know, I didn't know this, I'm sure everybody knows this, but I didn't know this. 2 weeks before, I think, he had actually done the same exact routine of renting a room with an overlook of of another festival that was going on. It was like the Something Life. What was it, Rhonda?
So he booked the Ogden Hotel, a room there, September 18th through 28th. And the Life is Beautiful festival was September 22nd through 24th.
Yeah. So they believe he was planning on doing this at a different event and then changed his mind and went and did it at this event instead, or something happened. But they believe that he was setting himself up to do the same exact thing earlier, and it didn't happen. and they didn't have the answer to exactly why it didn't happen the first time. But he had apparently already done this same kind of routine and was planning it out at a different location. So I thought that was interesting. The accomplice thing was super interesting because he had ordered food for 2 at his hotel room. And he had a girlfriend as well. So they knew about the girlfriend. And so when they had these things, these pieces of information, he's ordering food for 2, so he must be with somebody. He's got a girlfriend. So they started to investigate the girlfriend's Facebook page. In the middle of the investigating her Facebook page, it got deleted right while they're watching it. So one of the lead detectives who was on stage at the Vegas thing said, I immediately freaked out. Like, what the fuck? She's involved. The girlfriend just deleted her Facebook page. It turned out, they say, that she was being flooded with media calls because people, online researchers and media outlets were figuring out the girlfriend angle, and they were calling her and whatever, and they were checking up her Facebook page, and she didn't know what was going on. So she freaked out and just deleted her account in the chaos because everybody was fucking calling her and trying to reach out to her on Facebook and everywhere else. And so she deleted it, and it was completely unrelated, they say. But the really interesting part, of course, I understand. I understand there's a counter to it, right? But the interesting part about the ordering food for 2, he had purposely ordered, this is their story. So I'm telling you their story. He had ordered for 2 because if you order for one person, they're just going to bring you a tray and put it outside your door. If you order for 2 people,
talking about room service.
Yeah, they're talking about room service. If they order for 2, they're going to more likely bring you a cart, and they're going to leave the cart at your door. He used those carts very strategically. He put a cart outside of his room, one of the carts that delivered food, and he put it on there with the dirty food, and he put cameras inside the food cart, looking down the hallway. And what he had done was he had taken an L bracket, a cheap little L bracket from a local hardware store, and he had screwed the door shut to the staircase so that nobody could come up the staircase, forcing law enforcement to approach from the elevators at the long end of the hall. And he set up a camera to watch the entire hall to fire upon law enforcement when they were going to come to his room. But he created basically a shooting corridor for him. So he's very methodical, or whoever it was very methodical, right, to set up a shooting corridor and cameras watching it. In fact, and I'm going to tell you the story about how they discovered the broken door. When they eventually got there, the first thing they saw was this food cart outside of his thing with wires going underneath his door, and they thought there was a bomb, like he had rigged up a bomb. It was just the wires of the camera because he was watching, and he had motion detectors on it, and he had it hooked up to a laptop inside, and he was watching. The first shots fired, they said, was actually fired on a security guard who approached him before he started shooting on the crowd. And what had happened was, and this is a crazy story that I'll just share because I thought these were fascinating. There was a country or a rapper or a country rapper star that had a suite with his wife and a newborn or whatever and a nanny. And the nanny was coming and going from the hotel room so often that it set off an alarm because they have alarms on the doors when they're open too long that brings security to the area. They said that they have a lot of door pushers in Vegas. People will just go in and push on every single door looking for somebody who didn't quite shut their door shut enough and then go rob their room. So people frequently go through it. And because of that, they set up door alarms on all the doors so that if it's open for too long, it sends an alarm and sends security. So security had come up the stairwell and couldn't get there. So he went down a floor, over to the elevator, back up and down that shooting corridor. And before the shooting happened on the audience, he saw the security guard approaching and fired on him with like 308 rounds through the door. I think it was 308. Big rounds, right? And it might have been the 223.
It was the belt fed.
Yeah, it was the belt fed 223 maybe. But anyways, he fired on that guy like 35 rounds and actually hit him. He hit the security guard and then started firing on the audience or the crowd after he'd already fired rounds at the security guard. Same thing happened when first responders showed up. The guy that was on stage said he came up the stairwell with the rest of his cops, whatever, and found that the door was locked. He couldn't get into the door right there by the shooter's room. He had a crowbar on him, however, so he broke the door open and pried it open. And he had an image of the broken L shape. He goes, "There's the L shaped thing that he rigged, but we popped it, whatever, and came in." But anyways, long, fascinating story. The guy had done that. He had cameras, baby cameras, and motion detectors all over the room. One of the most interesting things I didn't know, and again, I think this might have been out there because I maybe kind of coming back to me now. He had bought snorkel gear, scuba gear. And he had set up a system where he had a snorkel system and he could walk through both rooms to his ammo bags with a gas mask on. because either they said he was anticipating that the police were going to gas his room and he was going to continue a firefight, or they said he was smart enough to know that firing that many rounds was going to create gas and smoke in his own room. And so he wanted to be able to keep shooting through the smoke. They're not sure which one it was, but he had set up a whole elaborate snorkel system to be able to walk around to his ammo bags. Another interesting side part that I was crazy is his bedroom, the adjoining bedroom. So he was firing with a 223 on the audience from one of the rooms. The adjoining room had a whole bunch of 308 rifles. And in that room was all bags of 308 ammo. He never reloaded a gun. He would fire a rifle until it was empty, and then he would toss it on the ground and grab another rifle, even though he had boxes and boxes of ammunition there. This is the story. They said that the mistake that he made, and the reason why he shot himself and it didn't go on longer, they said, was that he had opened up the door between the two rooms, and he actually brought glass cutters to port the window. And they said that if he had ported the window with just a small hole, they would have had a harder time finding him. But because the whole window had been shattered out, it was easier to see from the street level that the window was busted out. But if he had ported the window and only put the gun through the window, it would have been a lot harder for them to determine where the fire was coming from. Now, a friend of mine he says, what if he did port the window, but when he was firing the gun, it just simply hit the window through the small porty cut, and it shattered the window when he was firing the gun. And that makes sense, because they just assumed that for some reason, he didn't use the glass port. Well, maybe he did, but maybe when he was firing, he hit the window and it shattered the window. I don't know. But the mistake that they said he made was I think he had shot out from the other room, and it was a kind of a windy night that night, and it created a draft. He had created a draft through the two rooms and the open door, and it sucked the door shut on him and locked him off from his 308 weapons, and he couldn't get back to the 308s. So they think that if he hadn't accidentally locked himself out of the adjoining room with the wind that had sucked the door shut, it would have continued on for quite a while. But he ended up basically shooting himself in the head when he realized that he was locked off from most of his ammo and most of his weapons. So they say. That's what the official story is. So I thought that was all interesting details. So far, what do you think, JJ? I know you have probably most thoughts on the case.
Fiction is very compelling. Fictional stories. That's why people love them so much. They're very compelling. And I would, it's really, for me, the way I would pick things apart is I'd say, okay, have you debated any of the people who can disprove a lot of what you're saying? Because none of these official story people will ever debate anybody that's done real research, right? If you believe in your story and you really care about the truth getting out, then the truth should be able to stand up to scrutiny, and they never do it because they can't explain a lot of the inconsistencies and things that have come out, or at least the answers they give don't add up. So again, look, if you're somebody who's got a narrative to push, I'm sure it's a very lucrative business. So I don't trust anything any official source says. Period. Full stop. I don't trust them at all. No matter how compelling. I know it's I sound black-pilled, but I believe my eyes and my ears, and when you've seen enough fuckery.
Well, it's funny you mention it, because here's one of the things they said that I thought was a little hypocritical in my mind. So they indicated, for example, when all these calls were coming in with shots being fired in other hotels, they thought, holy shit, we've got multiple shooters. We're getting some kind of ISIS attack. The whole city is under attack kind of thing. They thought those questions. But then later on, they said, we're getting all these calls with all this nonsense conspiracy theories about other shooters. And I'm like, funny how when you ask the same fucking questions, it's just logical questions. But when somebody else does it, it's nonsense. Here's all these people with these nonsense questions. I'm like, they're the same questions you were asking, because you would have had the same thought. So why are we nonsense questions, but your questions are okay when it's the same questions?
So JP, what's the reason for the story if you don't believe it?
Which part? What reason for which?
Well, the whole story. If you don't believe Stephen Paddock did it, what's the narrative you believe?
Well, there's a lot of very detailed deep dives that have been done about the bigger picture stuff, like the Saudi government had like a whole top floor of that building, and that there was an arms dealer involved, and there were some other things going on that were much higher up the scale that were not addressed. There's that, and then the initial story that was sort of presented as a reason why they would do something like this is pretty standard. They want to ban assault rifles, and that was like one of the initial ones. But I like I always say, it's never just one reason. They don't the power structure doesn't use their resources both kinetically and in the media for just one agenda. They always lump multiple agendas together. It's logical. That's how you would utilize your resources the most efficient way. But Ian Carroll did a real deep dive and into it. And again, no one person who's researched it is without, being questioned, right? So you have to connect the dots. But Ian Carroll he's not the only one. George Webb did a whole thing on it as well. But before Ian Carroll did, because Ian used George Webb as a source, because George Webb was boots on the ground there. But there were some connections with bin Salman and arms dealing and a lot of different things that were connected to it. Now, I have not looked like deep dive level into this stuff in a while, but I have in the past, and there were some much higher level things happening that can be connected to it. Like
I know, for me, I'm
excited. Ivanka Trump was there, like like that during that time. Like there was some shit going on.
Yeah,
high level power broker shit going on. There's a lot, but again, I would have to review a lot of the documentaries that I watched, because I watched several.
And John Cullen, I recognize that. I want to do that myself. Like I'm intrigued to go back and look at it myself. And it's funny because I was gonna do the Vegas shooting, and I still might, on my alternate channel, which is more kind of the conspiracy angle, the whatever kind of shit. And I was going to do it over there. However, if I got Ashton Pack on, I was going to try to bring him on the bigger channel for the bigger audience kind of thing. But again, I don't want to expect Ashton Pack to come on a conspiracy channel and be grilled all day long with conspiracy theories. Like, I'd rather keep it in his lane, and then we can talk about what we heard after the fact and be respectful for his time, kind of thing. So for those who think that my style is I'm going to bring somebody up and try to attack him on camera, that's not how you win friends and influence people in interviews. So I would ask him the questions that we can, and then when he's done, then we will continue to talk about it after the fact. And I would like to go back and watch some of those documentaries, because again, I used to research it back in the day, and I wonder how much of my own memory, when I go back and watch it, I'm like, does it make sense now, or do I have the same questions that I had back then? I'd love to watch it again. So.
Yeah, because it's been a while since it's been a long time since I really dove into a lot of that stuff. And yeah, now Shay, you pointed like John Cullen. I can't remember if it was. I thought Ian Carroll mentioned George Webb also. I could be mixing that up with the Charlie Kirk assassination, but yeah, John Cullen did a lot of heavy research into that case. There's definitely some high level stuff connected to that, like people that were there during that time. There was a lot of shit going down in that area. So I don't know. I just tend to believe when a story is true, you don't need to have people, doing a media tour to tell everybody the official story is true. And this is why the conspiracy theorists think this or that. You just get on with your life. You don't need to convince people.
Yeah, and Philly Special, you asked what the alternate channel was. It's The Devil's Advocates Beyond. I just started the channel. I think last I looked, we had like 350 viewers. We're still way, way early, but I would love, and I think I'm going to find myself a good documentary on the Vegas shooting. and just start giving my comments. I'll go through it and I'll do it with you guys. I'll do little pieces like, hey, here's another piece of the video I watched today. Here's my thoughts, and go through it that way. And then I don't know if you guys want to do the same thing. I invite you guys to research along with me, and we'll have a roundtable panel about it after we've all kind of boned up on the thing. I think it still fascinates me. I think it might still be the largest mass shooting in U.S. history. Still, I'm not sure. Does the Vegas shooting still have that distinction?
I think it is. I think so.
And one of the things that worries me, and I do worry about this. I was telling Rhonda the same thing. The officers didn't even want to mention his name. They never wanted to say his name. They did put it on screen when they were showing stats, but they didn't want to mention his name. And the reason being, and I kind of agree with it a little bit, is that somebody out there will see that he has the record for the largest mass shooting and go, oh, well, I want to be remembered. I'm going to be the guy to beat that number, right? It can antagonize a certain type of person to be like, oh, so that's the record? I can do better than that. So they don't want that kind of shit happening where people, talk up and brag about it, making it almost sound like it's some kind of, he should be proud of himself. Look, he's got the distinction. Like, they don't want that shit happening because it could encourage new people to, hey, they're going to, and look, that was part of their theory. Part of the theory was he was suicidal. That was sort of their theory, but he wanted to be remembered. So he figured he would do something that they would be talking about him for decades after this. So he may be gone, but you'll fucking remember my name, is the kind of attitude.
Speaking of proud, you should tell them what his mother said.
Yeah. So the story they told was they went to his mother about the shooting to tell them that he shot himself or whatever, and that he had just fired on this large crowd. And they said, what would you expect, a mother's first response to be? Probably something about how horrible or tragic it was. And instead they said the mother's first response was, wow, he must have been so brave to shoot himself like that. She was proud of her son for having shot himself and thought it was a very brave act that he could be brave enough to shoot himself. So they were stunned. Like, how is that you don't care that he killed 58 people and shot 900, injured 900, but your response is, well, my son's so brave. I can't believe he shot himself like that. So, and here's another thing that they did. Narrative shaping, right? They needed to tell us that him and all his brothers were into child pornography. They found out his brothers were all into child pornography, and when they found his computers and seized his computers and looked through it, sure enough, he had child pornography. To which I said, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Are you suggesting that mass shooters look at child pornography? Like, there's no connection between the two that you've made, but they just want to poison. And I'm thinking to myself, what's the point? You don't think America already don't like the guy if he shot 900 people or, killed 58 people? Like, isn't that good enough for you to demonize him? You got to also add that he was a pedophile to get people to not like him. I think you have enough reasons.
Did they also talk about the pedophile ring that exists
no.
among the powerful global
Oh boy,
that could have exposed? I'm sure they selectively, conveniently, it's outraged about it, on one hand, but when it has to do with the powerful and the elite, it's okay.
Yeah. And look, those kind of things are narrative shaping. It's how to get people to hate somebody. And there's no better way to get people to hate people than to call them a pedophile. So you see it happen almost in every case. If media or law enforcement, unfortunately, one, I'm sorry, there's good cops and you're one of them, but unfortunately they love to put out in the media to the media that he's also a pedophile, because that's how you get people to, like, at that point your brain shuts off. Oh, then fuck him. He's a pedophile. Fuck him. You're just done. So you stop listening.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a game. Like, it's, to me, when you see heavy-handedness, for me, it always raises questions. All right, if this was the truth, then you don't need to keep trying to convince people it was the truth. Why? Most people believe the official story, so move on. But they don't like that people are awakening in society, that more and more people are researching things on their own. They hate that shit. The power structure hates that.
Do you believe the people were killed, or was that some sort of psyop too?
I mean, I don't. It could have been. I mean, but there's no way to definitively know.
Who killed all the people then?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There could have been a psyop component to it, but there's no way to know. I didn't say nobody was killed. I'm saying
I was very skeptical before I saw this, but now that I've seen this, I believe it. I was watching a video of one of the concert goers. There were video of Jason Aldean when the shooting started, and one of them in her crowd got hit while she was filming. She didn't realize she was still filming. She had her phone in her hand and it was everywhere, but you could hear their conversation and the shots. And it's hard to believe that this didn't really happen.
Oh, I never contended that it didn't happen.
I cried. I couldn't help it. I could hear somebody saying, ow, 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 because they got hit. It was powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I never got into the whether or not people were shot or not, because there's no way to prove otherwise. That's one of the things that would be virtually impossible to prove, because
they played a
large scale event like that.
It's funny that
video during our thing at CrimeCon, it was something I watched in the car later.
Right. Yeah. And it was tough because when it was hard. Like Rhonda lost it when the woman said ow. And because you realize, like, she doesn't realize how ow it is. Like, she just got fucking hit by a round. Right. And she's like, ow. But it wasn't just like, it was like, oh, like, you're like, oh, and like Rhonda just fell apart. She's like, oh, fuck. She just got shot. She didn't even realize what's happening yet. It's fucking horrible. They did have a video that they played for us of an officer getting hit by a round too. Took a round through his arm. Now, to be fair, you didn't see it. You heard it. There was a body worn camera of a guy next to him, and you hear the officer get hit. And there's no real question it happened, in the sense that it seems all very, very authentic. I mean, he screams out in pain, and I'm hit, and then everybody rushes to him, kind of thing. But you didn't see it. It's for those who wanted to play the really, really hard conspiracy. Well, you didn't see it. But it's pretty obvious that he took a round, it seems. But it's crazy. And I think even a lot of the conspiracies aren't to the extreme of saying nobody actually got hit. Although I did see it in our own chat. In our own chat, we saw a lot of people saying nobody was actually killed, nobody was actually hit. And I have a hard time with those things. I will say this.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like it's hard, like, and I get it. I've been there. I was in the Sandy Hook days where people say no children died in the Sandy Hook thing, and I've been on a lot of those kind of things. But to fuel the conspiracy, right? They even said on stage, typically they don't remove bodies right away. All of the bodies were removed from the thing within 24 hours. Now, some would say that's awfully suspicious. Why did you remove all the bodies? Or maybe you don't want a busy Las Vegas Strip, one of the busiest places in the world, having 58 bodies laying around and decaying and stinking in the hot sun. That's just fucking bad fucking PR for your city. Maybe you clean that shit up and fucking deal with the aftermath later. I don't know, but the fact that you took them all out of the scene.
The one thing though that I would say is, see how we're all saying this. Oh, of course, people were shot, right? Right, because that's what any logical person would say. But I've seen, like, people have found ads on, like, Craigslist or online ads looking for crisis actors for events, right? That stuff's been come out many times over the years. So the question is, we could never imagine carrying out something like that because it's such a grand scale. But when billions of dollars are behind a certain agenda, would I put anything past these people? No, I would not put anything at all.
Yeah.
Whatsoever, nothing. Like, the worst thing you could possibly imagine, I would not put it past these types of people. And because psychopaths and sociopaths are real. They're a real thing. So while and that's why most people will say, oh, there's no way that could have been like a staged event. But would I think it's possible? Yes, I think that kind of thing is possible. But I would have to be able to have evidence of something like that before I made that leap that in these big events, like, nobody was killed. Like, I would need to see.
Right. And I don't want to get on it. I don't want to go on too far on it in this channel, because again, I got an alt channel for this stuff like that. But I remember in particular,
you started it.
I know, but I remember in the Sandy Hook thing, there was photos that were coming out of children that was claimed to have been shot that looked like the same exact. I mean, looked like fucking the same children, like afterwards, and like posing with Obama and shit like that. And you're like, how the fuck is she a victim in the thing when she's posing with Obama in a picture? Like, there was some crazy shit in that one too. So I've been there.
Yeah.
And in fact, I
don't know. Right with that, and there was some weird stuff with that, but
there was weird.
I could say with Sandy
with
Hook,
Emily in particular.
Yeah. I actually worked with a lieutenant who lost a granddaughter who went to Sandy Hook, and she's not alive. She did die. Yeah. So I know someone. I didn't know his granddaughter, but I know.
And I do think I would like to discuss some of those. I mean, I'd like to go back and revisit those as well on the alt channel, because I want to kind of I don't like being labeled on this channel as a conspiracy channel, because that's not what we're about. We're about the presumption of innocence. We're about the legal documents. We're about defending the system, about over policing, about over prosecuting, making sure they get it right, transparency. That's what we're about. We're not about the high level stuff. We talk about it from time to time, like we're doing tonight. But I do want to. I kind of created that alternate channel for the reason for us to go further down the rabbit hole on the other channel.
You got a lot of work piling up for you, Lee. And I didn't even. I was busy. I had a big meeting today at work, but I see that there's actually a pretty big autopsy thing that got released today.
On the Idaho 4? I read of it so far.
It's like 75 pages. On Kaylee, yeah, we have it. Amanda sent it, and I see it's in our Discord. It's on Kaylee, Xana. It's on all of them, and it has
excellent.
Yeah, I don't know if I didn't see. I don't know if you looked at it, Robin.
I'm still looking for it.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't see anything about stomach. I didn't see anything quick about stomach contents, but I see that there is a lot. Very much more descriptive info about the injuries and stuff than we previously got. I definitely saw that.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, but I did a real like quick overlook. So
I will cover that as soon as I can find the document. I was hoping it was in our Teams, but apparently it's on Discord, so I got to find it.
It is. Discord. No, it's in Teams. Amanda.
It's in Teams. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's there. It's
all right. Cool. Well.
Yeah.
So let's do this. I mean, it's rare for me to go 3 hours, and we're approaching a 3 hour thing. And I want to let you guys on the East Coast and stuff like that have a chance to go too. There was a whole bunch of cases. I want to name the cases that we saw. I don't want to cover them tonight. I think I don't even know if people are interested in this shit, so maybe they're not interested in the other cases. Rhonda and I think we both found the Ohio dentist case to be very interesting. It was and the highlights of that is a man had been married to a woman 11 years ago. They got divorced 11 years ago.
Here, let me get some names for you, Lee.
Yeah, Spencer Tepe and Monique. Is that right?
Yes, Spencer Tepe and Monique.
Yeah.
And the guy in jail is Michael McKee.
So Michael McKee and Monique used to be married. They'd been divorced for 11 years. She remarried a dentist. He lived in Rockford, Illinois. They lived in Columbus, Ohio. I think it was Columbus, Ohio. 11 years after their divorce, Michael McKee is believed to have come in and shot both the husband and wife in their bed with their children there. He had previously told his ex-wife that she would always be his and belong to him, and that he'll get a house next to her someday and kill her. Did he wait 11?
December 30th of 2025.
Did he wait 11 years to make good on that promise? Here's one that I thought was interesting, a key takeaway that I thought was interesting. One of the things they said was, unlike Brian Koberger, when he left his home in Rockford, Illinois, he left his phone there, and his phone didn't move for 18 hours while he made a 7-hour drive there, killed them, and drove back 7 hours, because unlike Brian Koberger, he was basically smart enough to leave his phone behind, kind of thing. I thought that was interesting. He's kind of put that in passing. Unlike Brian Koberger, like it had nothing to do with Koberger, but they put in the whole, this guy was smart enough, not the guy who's got a PhD in criminology. He's not smart enough to leave his phone behind, but the vascular surgeon did leave his phone behind when he went to go commit the murders, they claim. But anyways, that was a really crazy story. There's more details we could give you. Nancy Guthrie's case was super interesting. An annoying moment in the Idaho 4 case came up with that when one of the individuals from Fox said, I was at Brian Koberger's early investigation, and I was at Nancy Guthrie's investigation. And the Brian Koberger's investigation was much more organized and professional than the Nancy Guthrie thing. That was one thing he said. Then he played a clip of himself. he was bragging on himself, in my opinion, bragging on himself about, look at me. I had one of the first questions to the law enforcement and whatever at the Nancy Guthrie case. And his question was, are you going to use IgG to catch the killer in this, whatever, or to catch the person? And then he said, our friends at Othram at some point in that discussion. So I just thought it was interesting. He wanted to brag about how we should use IgG several times. And I know I'm getting to some of the details I said I was going to save for later, but several times he said Nancy Guthrie was killed very shortly after she was abducted. That caused me to gasp. I turned to my wife and said, what the fuck did he just say? Because as far as I know, Nancy Guthrie still hasn't been determined to be dead. I mean, yes, you could logically guess she's probably dead at this point, but I don't think it's been official. I think she's officially still missing. He said she was killed shortly after she was abducted. Then later on, he said after she was murdered, and the audience gasped a little bit. And then he backpedaled. Well, wait a minute. I should probably be careful about saying things that may not be completely true or whatever. So he backpedaled after the audience heard him twice say that Nancy Guthrie's dead. That she was killed shortly after she was abducted and after she was murdered. And then after people gasped and caught on that he's saying that she's dead when she's officially still missing, he kind of, I should be careful about saying too much. So I thought that's
ridiculous.
Any really, flock camera pitches?
No, there was not. There was no. I kept waiting for you, JJ. I was gonna say, but I didn't hear that mentioned ever in any of the sessions.
What did you say?
Surprising. Flock cameras.
What is that?
Like a surveillance system kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't hear them ever talk about that in particular.
It's a system of cameras that are connected,
tied to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a network of surveillance cameras.
So they can keep following you wherever you go, kind of.
Yeah.
Thing.
So there's no escape, basically.
But one of the other things that go ahead.
I was gonna just mention the new news flash that they mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah. So yeah, good point, Rhonda. Thank you. They actually said we had a breaking news information in the Guthrie case right now that we got told about. They had found hair now at the crime scene that they just now fucking found.
They didn't test it either, right?
And they said they sent it to Quantico. So they sent it to Quantico just before he launched into the Othram Labs discussion. Where I thought, you watch Othram Labs. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Well, that's not the news flash.
Go ahead. What was the news?
The news flash was that Savannah had spent $500,000 of her own money to investigate further. It was just announced.
Yeah, but I thought he also said the hair was also just discovered. But yes, he did say Savannah Guthrie had put up $500,000 of her own money too.
I think they sent that to Quantico, right?
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
And
but you watch, it's gonna end up in Othram's lab. It's gonna end up in Othram's lab. You watch.
Remember what else interesting was said? I don't know if it was during this show or not, but when they do a rush on DNA.
Yeah.
How long did the rush take, Lee?
It was a long time. Was it? What did it? Yeah. Did I write it down? I think
it's in a different thing.
Yeah. Okay. It was a different case.
But it was interesting.
Yeah. They said when they want to rush on DNA, it's still like weeks or half a year later they'll get you the DNA.
Yeah.
Evidence.
Standard time was like 6 months, and a rush was like a month, something like that. I think. Which
is funny because remember, Othram Labs had Brian Koberger in 5 days. But
right.
Because they're an independent lab. Anyway, so that was interesting. I thought that was super interesting. The Alec Murdaugh thing was interesting. We talked a lot that, the biggest takeaway from the Alec Murdaugh one was the maid claims Alex had help with staging the scene and that she knows who did it and she can't say. So she said he had help, and I know who it is, and I can't say because I still live there. That's literally what she said. Like, I can't tell you who is involved because I still live there, which makes you think that whoever was involved in staging the crime scene still lives there as well, or still visits the property on a regular basis.
I can't tell you because I'm going to write a book about it.
Yes, she's writing a book.
Yeah.
She's writing a book, and she gave a great teaser. I know who helped him do the murders. And that's the thing. Like, is the accomplice somebody who just helped clean? Because she kind of framed it as somebody came upon it after it was done and they had a decision to make. Do I rat on a friend or family? She didn't say it that way. Or am I in on it now and I just help? And somebody decided to help. So she's kind of passing it off like it's not a big deal. Somebody just had to make a decision. Am I gonna turn on my family or whatever, or am I gonna help out fucking make, whatever. And so it didn't seem like it was all that. She even kind of defended Paul. Remember, Paul was involved in that boating accident. She defended him. It was like, it's horrible what people say about him. He was a great guy. He was a wonderful person. It's a shame that everybody talks so badly about him because he's really a great kid. But the biggest takeaway that I thought was shocking about it in a way was she claimed no one in law enforcement talked to her about the crime at all at the time. Nobody wanted to talk to her. She knew Maggie the best out of everyone. She hung out with Maggie. She dieted with Maggie. She shopped with Maggie. She knew all of the routines of the wife, and no law enforcement wanted to ask her a single question. And when the reporter who was interviewing her on stage said, "Why do you think that is?" She's like, "Well, because I'm the Mexican housekeeper. They can't have anything to offer." So she believes it was racial bias, that they just completely ignored the maid, who probably knows more than anybody about where the cars are. She even said Maggie's car was parked in a different place. She never parks there. Nobody asked her about that. She didn't get, she said pots and pans from the dinner that she cooked the night before were missing. I want to know what happened with that. Why are pots and pans missing? What was part of the cover up with the pots and pans missing? Maggie's clothes were laid out in a certain way, pajamas and underwear, panties and bra. She never wore panties and bra to work. She knew all these details. Nobody in law enforcement asked her about it because nobody thought she had anything to offer. So I thought that was super interesting.
So the thing was that she didn't wear underwear with her pajamas to sleep in, but there was underwear laid out on top of these in the middle of the hallway.
Right, like as if she was going to wear them, but obviously she wasn't because she never wears them like that. So I thought that was some interesting things. We heard about the Brittany Wallace case. That was an interesting guy. I never heard that case before. Brittany Wallace went missing in, I think, 2019. Her father was on stage, very tearful. The guy could hardly get anything out because he's so emotional about it. His daughter, a grown daughter, had an estranged husband. She kind of had drugs. She did drugs and she was with another guy. The night that she went missing, she went to get gas. She was going to go to somebody's house. She got some gas and then showed up with a stranger at his grandmother's house. And they had a wreck. They wrecked the car. She walked bloody with scratches on her to a farmhouse. It was a foggy and whatever morning, and she was never seen again. The 911 was on the way out to come out to see her. She walked away from the scene and was never seen again. Oddly enough, after they went searching and they met his search party, her estranged husband was the one who mysteriously found her cell phone in the field where they wrecked, even though he had gotten separated from everybody else. And they think that's suspicious that, oh, look, I found her cell phone. They think he might be the actual person who had something to do with it.
The case.
Just the back. Yeah, it was the back of the case of her phone. So that's a super interesting case. What I thought was interesting most about that real quick is that the officer who was on stage, he was the DA, I think, he kept telling us that she's dead. She's dead. She's dead. It's a tragic thing. The father at one point said, I still hope that she's going to come home, that maybe she's still alive. So for some reason, the guy on stage with them has emphatically believes she's dead, even though there's no body and there's no proof that she is dead, but he believes, and he said, we have reason to believe she's dead, but he didn't tell us anything about how he believes that she's dead. And if maybe the reason's only because she's been missing for so long, I don't know. But the point being is that he believes that she's dead emphatically, and the dad still thinks that she might be alive and hopes that he's still holding hope that she'll come home someday. Courtney Clenny, OnlyFans star that made, I think, $1.5 million, I think last year was that the number that she made on OnlyFans? Anyways, she apparently allegedly had murdered her live-in boyfriend. She had a repeated history of domestic violence. She had cut him before. She stabbed him that night that he died. She had apparently cut his face one time and he had been stitched up, and then she slapped him so hard that she busted his stitches open again. So it was like an ongoing domestic violence thing. She's the lead person in that investigation for having killed him. That was kind of an interesting case. The most interesting part about that was there was a true crime podcast on stage telling us all the details, including playing the 911 call of Courtney Clenny calling about my boyfriend stabbed, whatever, and then said, unfortunately, these people's stories become the subject of true crime podcasts. And again, I'm just like, are these fucking people not realizing the hypocrisy of you're literally a true crime podcast playing for us all the details and the 911 call from the thing, and then saying, unfortunately, these people are getting their lives, just dissected by true crime podcasts, like you just did for all of us playing the tape and giving us all the I don't understand the level of blindness to say shit like that. I don't know.
Well, they're all a lot of those people that get some high profile. They're paid. Somebody is sponsoring them.
Right.
They don't just get these opportunities. They're narrative pushers. That's what those types are.
Yeah. Where's the justice? I don't know. Kim Moore. I don't know. We talked about Idaho 4 and we talked about the Christy and Steve Gonzalez on stage quite a bit, and their impromptu interview from the Expo Center. We talked about that earlier. So if you weren't here for that, you want to maybe go back and watch that. Real quick, we're just going to finish up a couple things. There was a great session on Alcatraz, and again, they're writing a book. Actually, nice. They've written a book, I think. They're written a book, and there's a new documentary coming out in August. I think it's August 6th. They teased the fuck out of it. So granted, marketing, but the nephew of two of the men that escaped Alcatraz, he claims emphatically they absolutely escaped. They lived out their lives. They had families. They had children. I know it's a fact. And I can show you everything in the documentary. You're going to see never seen before facts to show that they did get off Alcatraz. They did escape. I can tell you who helped them. I know exactly where they went. I know exactly where they were flown out from. They did survive, and my uncles were not morons, and they didn't die in the ocean. And they're begging the FBI to unseal it because the fucking case is still sealed to this day. Documents are still sealed, and an escape from Alcatraz that's fucking 50 something years old now. Well, how could it possibly be sealed? Well, because they hinted mobsters are involved. Mobsters are involved, and court judges are involved. So when you have your political system, you've got politicians, you've got judges, you've got mobsters that are all in bed with each other. This is the reason why the documents remain sealed to this day. But he believes that he can prove that his uncles made it off the island along with one of the other individuals as well. And that they're going to blow people away in the documentary. So we'll see. So it was pretty interesting. Philly special. I'm going to look at the new autopsy doc drop as soon as I can. So as one said, I've got work to do. So I'm always behind.
One. Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's live streaming it right now. I'm already behind.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a whole bunch of other shit that got released as well. That one document, that one autopsy document is 75 pages, but there's a whole bunch of other shit.
I'm trying to decide, by the way, I'm trying to decide what our new take is. Do I need to do those document reads live and do it live like some of these other YouTubers, or do I take my time and read through it and come up with my take and then do a long form video with my take? So I usually have done the latter where I take time to think about it and do my take, but everybody always beats me to it, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's so old news. We covered that 3 days ago. So
do it live.
But the reason people are, in my opinion, the reason people are losing faith in mainstream media is because they do it live and they get it wrong all the time, because it's so important to be the first fucking person out talking about it that you don't have to worry about whether you get it right or not. You just got to be talking. You just got to be talking at all times. Got to be talking. Whether you're right or not, you got to be talking.
Well, if you're just like going through the documents with everybody,
that's exactly.
Nobody's expecting you to like have a perfect analysis of it.
Yeah, so maybe I'll try to do it live. Maybe I'll do it live tomorrow. How about I wake up tomorrow? No, not tomorrow. Shit, see? I had plans for tomorrow. And they drop a document. I have plans for tomorrow. I can't go live tomorrow with a live document read. I got plans tomorrow. Damn it. Anyways, maybe I'll do the live read later that night when I get back or something, after the live or something like that.
So there's two shows that we saw that you haven't mentioned yet. Joe Kenda
and Epstein,
Yeah.
So the Epstein, I'm going to cover that. I'm going to save Kenda for last because I don't want to. I'm going to save Kenda for last. The Epstein thing was kind of interesting. The most interesting takeaway so they had 3 victims of Epstein on stage being interviewed by Chris Hansen, the child predator kind of guy, right? So I thought that was weird. Like, again, I get it and I don't get it at the same time. So Chris Hansen's going to lead because they were young and they were teenagers. And so he's going to champion the whole child molester thing. I get that a little bit, but what was interesting was one of the ladies on stage said that the FBI had met with them and given them kind of a private meeting and told them, and this is what she said, the FBI told us Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, nor did he get murdered. And that's where she left it. They said he didn't kill himself, nor was he murdered. And I thought, well, what the fuck does that leave you?
Of course he's alive.
It either leaves you he's still alive, or the third possible option is maybe he had a heart attack and it was something of natural causes, so it wasn't suicide or murder, it was natural causes. That's your 2 options. If they really did tell her that he didn't kill himself, nor was he murdered, then he's either alive or he died of natural causes, because I don't know what other option you have there. So I thought that was shocking. The other person, though, however, said she did not go to that meeting. She said, no, I didn't go to the thing because I don't trust. She basically said, I don't trust the FBI. So I had no interest in hearing what the FBI had to say. So I didn't go to that meeting. So then they asked her, do you believe Jeffrey Epstein's dead? Her comment was, yes, I believe he killed himself. Why do you think that? Well, because if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So for her, because it looks like a suicide, it was a suicide. And I have no words for that shit. I have okay. So
The only,
if they told you it was a suicide, then it's a suicide. Well, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a suicide. So that's what it looks like. So it's what it is.
The only
Okay.
The only issue I have about that is that, Dr. Baden was privately hired to do an autopsy. So if you're gonna say that Epstein is alive, then you're gonna say Dr. Baden is a liar, and I don't know. Yeah. That's the only issue I have. But Dr. Baden, I mean, he's like world renowned,
right?
Forensic guy. He's actually the one that reviewed Shannon Gilbert that said that her hyoid bone was. So I have trouble. I understand. I know the whole thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
And did Baden conclude it was a suicide, or just that Baden conclude that he died from asphyxiation by hanging? Like, did he have an opinion about whether it was self-inflicted or whether somebody strangled him?
Epstein's family hired a separate forensic pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, where they did the autopsy. Dr. Baden later disputed the official findings, asserting that the neck injuries, including multiple fractures, were more indicative of homicidal strangulation.
Right. And that doesn't surprise me because, again, I will say it. I try to not to be conspiracy theorist, but I will say there's no fucking way that
he's living with
Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. He might be living with Elvis Presley.
He's in a band with Elvis. Yeah,
that's for the alt channel.
That's very possible.
For the alt channel.
Well, I personally think he's absolutely still alive, and he was above.
Yeah.
Anybody who's really dug into it and the research and stuff, he was above government level.
Right.
He was connected to the highest of the highest high level of power structure in the whole history of the world. I don't think I need to say the name. I think
someone said it best when they said, I can't remember who quoted this line. Maybe you remember, JJ. Jeffrey Epstein didn't work for the Mossad. The Mossad works for Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. He was at the highest level on, if you believe people like Whitney Webb and the hardcore researchers, the highest level that exists on Earth. I'm sure most people know who I'm referring to. People like that that's why they get all these opportunities and all these positions, because they're moving the chess pieces around for the most powerful people on Earth. And I never believed that either one. I just talked about this in my last episode. You have the official story, the official story, right? We've all heard those before. He killed himself. He was murdered. That's both official stories, in my opinion, to keep people arguing over two things in which neither are true. So I believe very strongly that he was taken out of there by the masters of the universe, and because he was a good boy and he did good things for the most powerful people on Earth.
Yeah. I saw that Shay said her husband had died from ALS. That was a complication of the anthrax vax. That's crazy. I'm sorry to hear that. And shit, I've got things to say about anthrax, but again, that would have to be on the alt channel. Remember the anthrax scare days when people were sending anthrax to congressmen over in letters and with that? That was a whole thing as well. But again, for the alt channel, perhaps. Last thing, Joe Kenda. Not because I'm saving the best for last, but I know that there's a lot, including my wife's sister, big Joe Kenda fans, and I get it. Joe Kenda has a huge following. What bothered me about Joe Kenda,
not by everyone.
Not by everyone. What bothered me about Joe Kenda, and it's funny because I talked to one about this as well. They bragged and got a huge ovation about his obscene clearance rate. Now, here's what's interesting. The FBI apparently uses the term clearance rate. Usually homicide investigators use the term solved. Solved cases is the same thing as the FBI's cleared rate. You cleared a case, you solved the case. But you have to understand a couple things about that term. Solved or cleared simply means you brought charges against somebody, or you've decided that charges can't be brought about against somebody because they're dead or whatever, but you know who it is, so you close it because we know who it is. So you've either brought charges against someone or you've identified who you think it is. It does not mean they went to trial. It does not mean they were convicted of the crime. It does not mean they didn't get off for it. It doesn't mean they were later exonerated. It doesn't mean anything. It's simply how many people did you prosecute? He has a record of closing something obscene, like out of 380 cases he's worked on, he's solved or cleared like 350 something of them, which normally the clearance rate is something like 60%. He has a 92% clearance rate. And everybody was like, oh my God, he's a fucking badass. And my first thing was, sounds to me like somebody fucking over prosecutes.
No way. I could tell you right away my history. I spoke extensively to when Lee brought this up, and I've seen a bunch of his shows or whatever, and it's shown in an interesting way. It's pretty cool how they show he solves the case and everything. Anyone that I've seen, at least with NYPD, that has had a super high rate, or like they get like an abnormal amount of drug dealers, or or something with prostitution or all kinds of stuff, it's a super red flag.
Do you know, by the way, what the typical clearance rate is for NYPD detectives or not?
What happened?
Do you happen to know what the typical clearance rate is for like NYPD detectives? Is it or a solved rate? Is it more like 60%, like they're saying is a typical national
that's
average?
Right. That's around the national average. So when you have something happen, so I'm not how do I say I'm not accusing him of doing anything, because I'd have to have proof of that, but when I see something that high of a rate, it just in my experience, it's a red flag. I could tell you just like a side note, real quick story. This is probably about 20 years ago. We've had so we have a magazine. They don't even print it. It used to be printed, and if you were NYPD, it would be sent to your house. Now it's a PDF file at the email. It's called Spring 3100, and in Spring 3100, in the back, there's like stuff. People put like who's people getting married, promotions, having kids, all the precincts, and in the main part of the article, they would put like different features, or maybe some kind of special arrest, or thing, someone made a really good arrest, things to that magnitude.
Yeah.
I wish I still had the issue. I probably do have it buried somewhere. So this, like I said, was a long time ago. So it actually was a printed copy. And these two officers were featured, and they have like a certificate. They're standing there with the police commissioner. And what these two guys were doing, they actually, they weren't undercover officers either. They were regular cops. Both of them had about, I think, between 5 and 8 years on, and they made like a ridiculous amount of like prostitution type arrests, and arresting pimps and prostitutes, which at that time, like 20 years ago, New York, they were really trying to clean up New York City and make it more, family friendly. So this was like perfect, exactly kind of like what they were looking at, and like, oh, look at these guys. They made so many great arrests. The problem is, they also it was a red flag that they put on themselves, because they were making so many arrests. Someone, we have an internal affairs group. Someone was smart enough to look at that. I was a brand new officer at the time, so I'm just reading this article and looking and seeing, and it was, you know, it was someone from IAB that looked at this and I'm like, what made these officers so special? Like what did they do so differently? Why are they making so many more prostitution arrests? And you know, like are they that much smarter than everyone else?
Right.
Like, and so they were watched over a few month period. And they were actually, they got, like I said, they got an award. They got their picture taken with the police commissioner. They were getting all his praise. And then a few months later, guess what? It turns out, and I'll say how they got caught. They were working for one of the brothels, and what the brothel was doing, the brothel was paying these guys a few $1,000s, obviously cash, and they would give them info, like to
arrest their competition,
to arrest their competition. And what do you think happened? Well, one of the prostitutes a few months, down the line got arrested and said, hey, I can give you some info about some dirty cops.
And it's funny because those should be red flags, and instead at CrimeCon, it wasn't a standing ovation, but it was a rousing ovation for his clearance rate. What a badass.
So let me be clear. So I'm gonna be clear. I'm not saying Joe Kenda is dirty. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it is a red flag that he would have such a high percentage rate. If the national average is 60% and he's above 90%, to me, I would say, not necessarily that he is at the extent of the story that I just told you, but to me, I would think there's some nefarious ways of interrogation or something is probably off. That's my personal feeling. I would need more info, obviously, but I'm very skeptical. I'm very skeptical.
There was a couple of other moments that bothered. I mean, Kenda's very good on camera. He talks well. He's very fun. He has great stories. He's got great anecdotal stories, and I'm not taking anything away from those. Like he's fun to listen to. But again, the red flags when you have a clearance level that high. There was another red flag for me when he was telling his story about why he got into homicide. And it was a little creepy for me, but I pay attention to details and how people say things. So he indicated that basically he was put in robbery at first, and he's like, it's boring. And then someone basically, he was talking about homicide. And homicide, he said, he was told, you literally get to put somebody away for the rest of their life or even kill them, execute them for doing something wrong. He goes, I want to do that. He was super excited about, I get to end someone's life, putting them away forever or killing them. And I thought it was creepy the way he says, oh, I want to do that because there's no higher stakes. Like I get to be in charge of someone's life and whether they live or not. And I think that kind of gave him a charge. He was excited about being able to either put somebody away for life or to have them executed. And at some point when they were talking about a killer that might be let go, he said, I'll kill him. Like there was a couple times where he just seemed like, I want to be the guy that kills somebody or is responsible for killing somebody. And I have the ability to do so because I've got a job that allows me to do it. It almost felt that way. I was like, wow.
His reasoning for going into homicide was burglary is not interesting at all because burglar steals your TV, you file an insurance claim, you get a new TV.
Yeah.
Somebody murders your family, you can't. There's nothing you can do.
There's no higher stakes. So he wanted to play the higher stakes game. He's like, there's no higher stakes than murder. And that's fine.
It's fascinating, right? I mean, that's, can you imagine, like, look at how we get fired up about digging into shit. Can you imagine if you're the guy? I mean, I don't have to say this to one, but you're like literally boots on the ground, and you're the first people on scene with these crimes and things like that. It's got to be for people who like to get to the bottom of things. It's got to be a pretty exciting job. I'm sure there's a lot of drudgery to it too, but it certainly takes a certain kind of person. I don't know if I could do it.
Well, you get you guys studied you and Lee studied psychology and whatever. What I could tell you, you get numb. You learn you get numb to seeing. It's still hard to see kids get hurt. If I see children But I've seen so many bodies and blood and guts. It doesn't, and that's why I've talked to Lee offline, and I've said on here many times. I understand when we, because everything now is watching body cameras, and I know it kind of puts law enforcement in a bad light when you watch some of these scenes and you see cops like joking and this and that, and people, you guys who are not law enforcement or first responders are like, oh my God, that cop should be fired and this and that. You have to understand that they're still human. And I agree that some comments can be very in poor taste. Yes. But it's their way of coping sometimes and dealing with it. Like most people don't, I don't find it funny of someone getting splattered all over the street or whatever, but it's odd. I understand because you see a
defense mechanism.
Scene. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Did you Did you ever see that documentary? There were two of them done. Coringo. Sebastian Younger embedded himself with that military. I don't know what you call it, platoon in the Korangal Mountains in Afghanistan, and he did a documentary.
I don't think I saw.
There were two of them. There were the first one.
Yeah,
was the name of one of the soldiers that got killed. I can't remember the name. Then he did a follow up to it, and those guys are in a hotbed of like firefights. Literally, like they're 24/7. They're literally on the side of a mountain. It's a crazy documentary. I'd highly recommend it. But those guys talk about gallows humor, man. They're like, they're literally in the beginning of the first it's a pretty famous documentary. Sebastian Younger, the guy who wrote The Perfect Storm, and one of their buddies gets killed.
Yeah.
And like, that was really hard to watch, like, because you're watching this stuff. He's there, he's filming this at the scene, but when they're just like going about their business, man, you got to be hardened to the world to be in those environments.
So I'm going to end on I don't know if has everybody heard the story with the Kenda? If you're a long Kenda follower or Joe Kenda follower, have you heard the story about his wife and the person that was calling and threatening the house and saying that he knew the color of their carpet and stuff like that? He told a story about this, and it seemed like not everybody had heard it, even though they had been longtime Joe Kenda fans. He told a story about the stress about one of the cases that got too close, and somebody was calling and threatening the family, threatening his wife and making comments about that, and even told her to the point of knowing what color the carpets were in the house, which scared the shit out of her that he'd been in the house and seen the house. So one night he says he's telling the story about this happened, way back. She hears something, and she hears like a rattling of the window. So she goes to check. She grabs the gun in the house and she goes to check it. And she comes out with the gun. And a police officer says, "Hey, put the code. It's me, Officer so and so, whatever." And he jokes that she should have shot him because apparently they were watching the house because she was nervous about people, scoping the house. And so to check on her house and make sure it was secure, this officer thought it was a good idea to go around and rattle her windows without letting her know he was outside, and she damn near shot him. But the thing that was funny about the story was he says to his wife, he says, "What were you wearing when you answered the door and was talking to the officer that night?" And she tells him essentially she was wearing a nightgown, and he's like, "Your see-through nightgown?" And she's like, "Oh my God." He goes, "I never saw that nightgown again, unfortunately." So apparently she answered the door, had a big discussion with the police officer in her see-through nightgown. And he's like, "So you answered it in the see-through nightgown?" So that was kind of funny. We laughed about the moment that she went out and, he lost that forever, I guess, lost the nightgown forever. So he had some funny moments. He brought tears to everybody's eyes when he told a very emotional story about being married to his wife for, was it 50 years they've been married? He told an emotional story about the day that they were finally, after he'd been retired and whatever, they were sitting down for coffee. And I forgot exactly what happened, but something happened where he showed a side of his humanity again because he had shut down so much of his emotions, and he got emotional about something. And she said, "I finally have my husband back." So she got, he got emotional. He cried when he said it, and it meant a lot to him. The audience all bawled with her, and why Rhonda was bawling with her. So he felt pretty good that he had shut down so much of his emotions that he had finally put the job behind him and returned to being the man that she married back in the day, kind of thing. It was kind of interesting story. So that's it for me.
Yeah. So Lee, I got bad news for you. So while you're at CrimeCon, I know you didn't even get to do that yet. I know there's like 23 or 24 documents that dropped.
I
right?
know. I know.
And guess what? So that autopsy is only one. So 28 new documents dropped today.
Yeah.
28.
Yeah.
So it's it's like 50 documents. Jeez.
I did read through one of the documents, and it was a snooze fest. It was all about going after Koberger's phone and the pin trace and the trap and trace on the phone. And it was I didn't find it particularly interesting. Maybe you guys did. I don't know if you guys found it, but I was kind of like, there's nothing there that I found. Maybe you guys caught something that I didn't, and that's possible. But that was the only document I had time to read. So I have a bunch that I still have to read. But I think top of my list now is the autopsy one, since that just came out. I'll probably read that tonight. And if I find enough to do it, again, doing it live is going to be hard because tomorrow, again, if I wait 2 days, I'm old news. So I don't know what to do with this. I'm always struggling with the whole, like, how am I outdated? I was literally behind the news at CrimeCon. I'm at CrimeCon, and people are talking about what Steve and Christy said at CrimeCon, and I'm like, how am I behind the news when I'm fucking at CrimeCon? And I'm behind talking about CrimeCon. So, anyways, I don't know what to do. You can chase always being on top of the news and being the first one to come to it, but I don't want to be the first. I want to be better at analysis, and I don't want to be the first to just run my mouth. So, I got to try to decide how that looks. Do I go ahead and run my mouth, as JJ says? If everybody knows that this is the first time I'm reading it live with you, then they forgive a little bit of you being wrong. But I also don't like. I've been on. Remember, Robin has been there for it. I think. I'll be reviewing Kopaka body cam footage, and I'll say, did they just say this? And I'll make a big deal about it, only to find out that the answer was like 5 minutes later. Oh, that's not what they said. They said this. And then I look like an ass because I made this big deal about it. Oh my God. Like, I don't want to be a shock jock. I don't want to do the whole, oh my God, let's go off the fucking rails, and then go like 2 seconds later to explain it. You're like, okay, that makes me look stupid. I don't want to be that guy. So anyways. All right, last minute questions from the Peanut Gallery. Rhonda, thank you for staying so late tonight. I know you said you wanted to get on with your life and do other things, but you stayed like a trooper.
I have lots of work to do, but this is fun.
And let me pick on you. I get to pick on you a lot. That fucking, I swear to God, that fucking Chippendales guy.
So
you guys were away for a while.
So I got a question. I got a question for, I guess, for Rhonda and for you, Lee, right? You go. So I know you spent like 8 or 9 hours on this quest for the new cell phones. Do you like the phone? You got it, right?
Oh my God. Thank you. Look, so yes, I got the phone, and I love the phone, but I've been like, why do I love this phone? I don't even know why I love the phone, but I do. I love it. It's great. And it's got AI features built in that are better than the other phone. The biggest moment came today. I went on a hike up in the mountains, and I always, as soon as I get to the lake, I lose cell coverage, and I got no cell coverage. So I got no cell coverage at the lake, and I have no cell coverage for the hike up into the mountains. And I always feel like I'm out there with my fucking dick in the wind. If anything happens and I have a heart attack, I got nobody I can call. I can't fucking whatever. I took my phone with me, and I was like, oh my God, I got like fucking 5 bars of fucking service. I called my wife from the lake, and I'm like, hey, guess where I'm at? I'm at the lake. I was fucking ecstatic. And then I hiked, and I was up in the fucking mountains and called my wife because the phone works up in the mountains. I was like, oh my God.
Nice.
Like, I don't know if it's the phone antenna or if it's
good hardware.
Whatever
It
could be good hardware.
Our previous carrier supposedly uses the same towers as the new carrier, but no.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, man. I was looking at that phone. But my iPhone's not paid off yet, so it would be a lot of money up front.
It's got a great privacy feature built in.
The privacy feature is very cool because there's the privacy feature, for example, for those who don't know, on the S26 Ultra, and maybe it's on the lower models too. But
no, it's only on that
you can
one.
tell it. You could tell it what specific apps you want to not be viewable from an angle. So if you've got an app that you're like, if you want to look at your bank for example, you can have it so that it can't be viewed from side angles, so people can't look over your shoulder and get your bank account. So you can do that per app. You can be like, on this app, it's okay to let people see it and have the full. But on this app, I don't want people to be able to look from the side. That's a cool feature. And like you said, the tablet. Oh my God. I took notes on my phone. I was ecstatic. It was amazing to be able to write in my handwriting and just jot down notes real quick. That was a lifesaver. So that was my biggest feature. I think the tablet is my favorite feature on the phone so far.
Yeah, it looks like a really cool phone, man. I was researching it because I'm gonna, mine will be paid off in a couple of months, but those are expensive phones, man. So you gotta.
It is, and I think the phone is like $1,600, but they gave me $1,300 as a trade-in on my phone. So,
see, that's crazy, man. Yeah. I only got quoted $300 for my iPhone.
Wow, yeah.
On T-Mobile.
Speaking of iPhone, quick story. I know we want to fucking get out of here, but Rondo tells me. So we were iPhone people are fucking obsessed, right? They love their fucking Apple technology.
There's somebody in the chat that says iPhone all the way.
It's a religion. It's a fucking religion, right? So Rhonda just happens to mention to me that she used to work for AT&T or whatever, or Apple. It was Apple, sorry, Apple. And she said, yeah, and she says, I still have the Apple II, the first Apple. It's in a drawer, but it doesn't. The Apple IIG, and she said it doesn't work anymore, but it's in a drawer. And I said jokingly, half jokingly, I bet you that's still a collector's item if you have the first iPhone, even if it's not working. Fuck yeah, it is. You can get hundreds of dollars for a non-working original 2G like she has. It looks like she's going to get it right now. So it's worth hundreds.
I'm not sure where it's at, but I think it's in here.
It's worth hundreds of dollars, even if it doesn't work. And here's the thing. They told me, I said, why does it not work? She goes, well, it just won't take a charge. It won't boot up. And I looked online. There are common things to get a phone that doesn't boot up to boot. And if she boots it up, it's worth hundreds of more dollars. So we probably
You can replace the battery too. You can get them replaced.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't want you to replace anything. They want the nostalgia factor of it being actually factory, never been reset, never been updated. In fact, if you have a original 2G that has never been updated with a firmware update, it's worth more money.
I want to go. I wish BlackBerry would start making phones with keyboards again.
Right.
I love the hardware keyboard.
We'll have to look. I don't know where it's at. It's around here somewhere.
All right. Any last minute questions from the panelists or from the chat tonight? I hope that you were okay with my long picture sharing from Vegas and all that stuff.
Yeah, I got one.
Great.
I know.
Okay.
We could keep you here. We could keep you here all night. I guess I got one more question.
Yeah.
So since you guys, I mean, I know you traveled there, but I guess in Vegas, is there some kind of special meal or anything noted of that you ate? That was like,
I'm telling you
that
what.
was really good.
Worst pizza I've ever had.
Yes. Oh my God. The worst. Oh my God. It was fucking horrendous pizza. We paid a fortune and it was fucking horrendous. Had a great meatball sub from the celebrity food court in Caesar from Joe. Who was the pizza place from? Bob or Joe? Some fucking. Anyways, great pizza. Cost a fortune. Guy Fieri. It was a Guy Fieri's Chicken Shack.
Yeah, it's a chicken guy.
The chicken guy had some good chicken there, but mostly I got to tell you this: like I used to, like you, when I used to eat keto for a year, and I dropped 100 pounds. I have gone back on carbs, and it's the worst thing ever. My energy level sucks ass. I feel lethargic. I ate the fuck out of carbs in Vegas. I'm done. I came back. I'm like, I'm done. Fucking, all I ate was carbs, pizza, and fucking subs, and fucking donuts, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like shit. Like I need to get back on keto. For not to make this a diet show, but I will tell you this: if you force yourself to get off carbs, life is fucking better. You feel more energy. At least I did. It's not for everybody. Everybody's body's different. But for me, the energy level, the focus level, all that shit's becoming dampened. I'm becoming dumber. I feel lethargic, and I gotta get off the fucking carbs. It's horrible. So. Anyways, any other questions?
I gotta tap out, man. I'm exhausted and starving. I gotta be up early.
All right, thanks for joining us, JJ. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. No, better late than never.
Sleep till Brooklyn.
I'm gonna catch up on those. I'm gonna catch up on the Vegas documentaries. We got to talk about it. I really want to dive into that shit, especially on the alt channel.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right, take it easy, man.
I'll see you guys. Good night,
Any other
everybody.
last second question, everybody? Nope.
There's always questions, but we'll let it go.
Yeah, I definitely want to read the autopsy shit. That's good shit. No sleep till Brooklyn. All right. Yeah, my dad, by the way, my dad was 5'4". He used to make the joke all the time that he was short because the Bible says the wicked should be cut off. That was what his long fucking standing joke. So
No.
and he became a minister. He was a pastor. It's like this funny when he says that he's wicked. He may not have been the best pastor ever. I don't know. He was a funny guy. I wish my wife would have met him, but
My favorite food was the Mongolian grill.
Oh yeah, we had good Mongolian. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the taco truck.
Oh, yeah, taco truck was very tasty as well. All right, everybody. Thank you for being part of the Crimes After Dark. It's good to be back on my own show, even though I appreciate both 1-1 and Robin for holding the fort down, and JJ. I didn't get to say thank you to him for as well, and Dago as well for holding down the show. This was Dago's night off. I know somebody asked earlier where Dago is. Dago only comes on officially on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Sometimes we get him on other nights. We did give him the invite tonight, but he didn't come on, and that's fine. Lots of stuff going on. He was probably reading the autopsy thing live, is what he probably was doing. Because fucking then I'm old. I'm old again. Oh, that's so like 20 minutes ago. I just finished reading that online. Anyways, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I'm still catching up on sleep, and hopefully we'll have new videos coming out on both the alt channel, which is The Devil's Advocates Beyond, for UFO and conspiracy and paranormal and that kind of shit. And then this main channel, I'll try to have a video. I'm going to try to do a video, I think, on the autopsy report and my feelings on it, even if it's only 20 minutes long. I want to give you some thoughts on that because I won't be here to do it live, and I'll be old news. So, anyways, yeah. Thanks everybody for coming.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, guys.